And all the good times feel like they're behind you. And all the bad times feel like they find you. Looking for happiness, but you can't find it. In case you forgot the truth, let me remind you. Osataya dignity, kuma blessana divili, like a faith of a mustard seed, ungasunge malupiri. Osataya dignity, kuma blessana divili, like the faith of a mustard seed, ungachose malupiri. Mirika, 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 osalimba mutima miri, futoni chabe season miri. Mirika, 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 miri, osalimba mutima miri, futoni chabe season miri. Life is like a book, don't you give up on chapter 2. There is so much my God will do, just hold on. Every breath that you've given is like a melody, write your song. Every time that you've fallen is closer to victory, just hold on. O sataya dikimiti, kuma blessana divili, like a faith of a mustard seed, unga chose malupiri. O sataya dignity, kuma blessana divili, like a faith of a mustard seed, unga chose malupiri. Mirika, 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 miri, o salimba mutima miri, futoni chabe season miri. Mirika, 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 miri, osalimba mutima miri, futoni chabe season miri.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kenny T One-on-One podcast, brought to you by Yatu Tea, Abaleya carpooling, and MTN everywhere you go. What a way to start the show. Abel, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you, thank you.
That was beautiful. Milika.
Yes.
Who is Milika?
Milika is a metaphor about, or basically what they say, an allegory, whatever. But it's a story about anyone can be Milika in the sense that you are going through struggles, and usually struggles, people harden their hearts, you know, especially now, you know, but people like, oh, you don't know what happened to me, you don't know my story, this is the way I am, this is why I am the way I am, I don't trust men, I don't trust women. But I feel like, look, it's you might be passing through a season, and that season shouldn't harden your heart, because like good things are still coming. So like don't give up on the things that the values that you were raised, the dignity that you have. Don't sell it because you're going through a bad season. You're gonna get out of that season.
Is this a new song?
It's a new song, yeah. It's a new song.
Is it out already?
It's about to be out. We've already done recording everything like that.
Is it coming out as a single, or is it
coming out as a single? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I worked with a young producer called The Beat Salaula. Very, 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 very talented man. And he just, as soon as I heard the beat, I was like, man, let me hop on this. And so we made some amazing magic. Got another guy called Mr. Sammy Soul. He plays saxophone, Nigerian man, and he did some amazing stuff. So when this track drops, don't worry, I know Power will.
No, we'll blast it. But it sounds really good. It sounds like my kind of song. But who wrote the song?
I wrote it. I wrote the song.
So do you write your own music?
Yes, yeah, I write my own music, yeah.
Great. Our guest today is Abel Chungu. He is a musician. He's more on the gospel. You're a gospel artist.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I asked this question because you know the controversy on social media.
Yes,
people are like, okay,
yes.
Abel is a born again Christian. He's a gospel artist.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes we find him in this place.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was a Chandanake event that you went for.
Yeah.
Is it very recent?
Yeah.
Sometimes we've seen you perform at you know, one of these big summer events, obviously, where people, you know, are getting drunk and all of that. People are thinking, okay, but what is he doing here?
Yeah.
What's the story there, brother?
So the story there, I think, would start with one of the things I learned early in my life was knowing my spiritual gift. It's my spiritual gift. I know whether I run from it or not, it's evangelism. Um, Even now, like I still do street witnessing, like one-on-one. I'll meet absolute strangers on the street, or I just park my car at a gas station and I'll start talking to people. I love that intimacy. Music, however, has opened up a different door. I love making music. I've always loved making music. And it was never intentional, I think, that my love songs would become more mainstream, right? I didn't make an extra time to be like, this is a blow, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or I don't make, but I do feel there is certain traditions that we believe that I feel don't align really with the core value of the Word of God. Like the way we perceive that if it's a love song, then it's secular music. I don't think so. People would ask me like, "Are you gospel music?" Oh, I no, because of some of the songs that you've like. Which ones? And then they'll say, "No, this." I'm like, "Have you read Songs of Solomon?" I said, if I took any one of those lyrics and made it into a song, you'd think I'm like gone, right?
Yeah.
But so the music, what it does is that I feel it also, for me, what it relates to. People say, "Why do you do love songs?" I said because God's intention, well, his original plan is, for the body of Christ start with a family, right? At the core of it, a community can never become prosperous unless a family is succeeding. The more families that succeed, the better the community, the better the country, you know what I'm saying? And the better the world. Now, the family starts with two people. So we also have to be at the core aspect of how are those two people meeting? What's the conversation? What is the music that governs that the romance, right? We can't all be saying, "Girl, drop it low, drop your shiny white." You know what I'm saying? But there has to be some feel that of maturity of I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to, I'm seeing these imperfections out of you, but I choose to be with you. Those are mature conversations about people who are willing to actually be in love. So that's why for me, I do love songs as well, right? So whether they become, I think sometimes just more people relate with love songs, so they become bigger, but it's never the intention. I think when I make a song, I really do it from the heart, and I can always tell you a backstory behind every song. I say, this is why I wrote this song, this is why I wrote that song. But, and you asked about, recently with Chanda Nakeo, other artists. So there was an incident that actually happened very recently. It also raised a lot of different controversy.
Oh, yeah?
It was for me, like, again, coming back to that thing of being an evangelist, I feel when there is a demographic of people that listen to a Chandanake, that listen to their type of music. And when you hear like, okay, like missionaries, they would come and then they would learn your language. They'll learn how to communicate with the people. I felt like there was a gap there where what is the music that is preaching to this group of people? What is the music and what is the most important message they need to hear? So I wrote the chorus for Take All of Me. That is the gospel, and it's in a nutshell. Come as you are, with all your scars. Come, whoever you are, no matter where you are, whether you're Jerabo, whether that is the message. I think the problem sometimes what happens is we have become also Christian entertainers, as in we're entertaining to the Christian audience and packaging it up as a no, it's worship. So I get people who tell me like, oh no, you should be at conferences. There are churches which have actually banned me. So there's.
What do you mean?
Oh, my guy.
Churches have banned you because of what?
Yeah, I mean, look. There's always just a sense of no. They feel like no, you carry too much controversy. You're not, you're not the kind of person that you should. You should package yourself more like complete like a gospel artist. Huh. And I tell people like, look, when God called me I doubted it. I told him, I said, I'm going to embarrass you, right? When the first time I really heard God speak to me and say, I want you to do this, I said, I'm going to embarrass you. Because I knew my flaws. I'm like, I am a very flawed human being. But that's the thing. It's in Matthew chapter 9, verse 9, where they ask Jesus, why are you tax collectors and sinners? Why are you people like Abel? And he says, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. And so running back to that situation where I remember I was on stage not too long ago, and I just felt this need, like, I should call Chanda and K if they want to perform tonight with me. We do take all of them. It wasn't even on the list. And I told Jerayo, their manager, I'm like, yo, if you get them out, I will come to their event. So imagine that. So just crazy enough, this is part that people don't know. Chanda K came 2 hours early before my performance and waited, right? At the crate thing. And then when we were done, we did take all of me. And I asked the crowd, I said, can we pray for them? Can we just take time to pray for them?
Yeah.
This is a beautiful moment where the crowd stretches their hand and they pray for them, right? And that's the thing. I think that's at the core of believers, because we must believe that the word of God, when, in any situation, wherever it's spoken out, it has life. Whether someone will remember it 5 years from now, they'll go back in their worst moment, like, when did I feel the most peace? Man, that day where I stepped in church. We always go back to the word.
Yeah.
So that night, then they had another event. So when I was done with my event, I said, okay, I'm going to honor my word. I'm going to go to their event. And
this event was where?
This was at Bonview, something like that. Like,
okay, they're in Salamapa.
Yes,
that's a huge venue.
yeah. So they had their performance. So I get there, called their managers, like, yeah, sure, okay. They're about to do the song, okay. Then they are pulled up. We've got a surprise for you. And I show up, and the crowd is like, And then, so we're doing Take All of Me. And then K keeps saying something in between, like, while the song's going. And I can't hear what he's saying, right? He keeps saying, I'm like, what is he saying? So now I get to the end of the song, and then he just says it on the microphone. He says, Vamdala. So I'm like...
So it was on the same night?
On the same night.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, I said, you what? So I looked at the crowd, I said, Kay would like me to pray for you. Can I pray with you guys? And there were, of course, I won't deny, there were some people like, but majority of the place was like, yes, please pray for us. And so that's how I prayed for the crowd, and I walked off, and it was like, a few guys also like, man, please, can you find time to be praying for us? And for me,
so you don't.
Yeah, so it gets me emotional, because
I can understand. So you are not an evangelist or an artist, a gospel artist that just want to restrict yourself to church-going people, the Christians, right?
No.
Because I'm sitting and I'm thinking, okay, when we have problems, right? We run to church, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who are in church today have a good understanding of God and His teachings, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes I sit and I'm like, I think evangelists should be out there in places where people don't know God.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. I don't know. I don't know what your take is on this.
I think my take is we have one commission. That's from Jesus, and He said, "Go out into the world and preach the gospel. These signs shall follow those who believe in my name." Right? Those trampled scorpions, they will step on. They will overcome. That's our goal. I think in the meantime, I think so many times that we try to do is try to create a utopia, a Christian utopia, where we only hang out where we hang out, we only listen to what we listen to, we have this secluded life away from the world. I feel like, look, I'm not the best person to say this, because I know that I'm in the world, and sometimes I've been consumed by my own selfish desires. But at the end of the day, I feel like we were meant to be bigger than what we try to make ourselves be. I feel like there's God wants to touch people. One of the saddest things when I evangelize, majority of the people that have rejected the gospel are people who have been to church before. The people who will tell me things like, when I got pregnant, they kicked me out. When I did this wrong, they shunned me. They stopped calling me. They stopped talking to me. When they felt that, my sins were too much, the pastor no longer even had anything to do with me. I haven't heard from my pastor in a long time. I haven't heard from this brother. They're alienated. Then later on, it's like, hey, You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, hey, now you're a memory. And now they're saying, no, this guy used to go to church. This guy used to what? But there was a period of time when you needed them, and then no one walked with you. And these are the people who are there, who've got stories, who will tell you why they have a hard time having a relationship with God. And for me, where every time I just say, look, at the core of it, like, that's what God really wants. He wants a relationship with you at your worst. He wants to meet you where you are broken. You know, the word of God says, where sin abounds, grace abounds also, right? In Hebrews, it says, let us boldly come before the throne of grace. Now, the grace, in definition, we say, is undeserved favor, right? It's the fact that you can come before God as you're seeking mercy, and you say, okay, God, when you say, go and apologize to someone, and you've wronged them, God says, we're seeking mercy. So we're going to God, we're seeking mercy. We're there to say, oh God, I'm sorry. And God says, at the end of the day, what he will do is that he will then give you grace. Imagine you're going to apologize and someone says, oh yeah, okay, I accept your apology. Here's some car keys. Here's a brand new car. Like, so I'm just saying materialistic things because I think usually we relate blessings to those things. But there's so much more that God gives, right? He gives peace. Right? Peace can happen even when you are you can be broke. There's nothing in your account, but you have peace. You're just like that. I think that's God. And usually when I pray for people, you will see a countenance change on their face, and all of a sudden this person is super happy. All of a sudden you're just like, and I'll even tell them, like, you feel that, eh? And you feel like the Holy Spirit, you experiencing, he touched them right where they are, whether it's on the street, whether it's what. And that, for me, is at the very core. Now, I think where sometimes we have issues is because people think, oh, no, you're a gospel artist. I always tell people, like, look, there's no, the gospel, being a gospel artist is not one of the spiritual gifts, right? It's not one of the spiritual gifts. It's a talent. It means I write songs, I write music, but it's a talent. But my spiritual gift is knowing exactly what the Holy Spirit wants me to do. And what I've always known, and I'll tell you, man, I've seen the worst. I remember I stayed with a guy called, when I was in Florida, I'd spent a summer and I got a chance to spend 3 nights at a guy's house. His name was Ozzy, right?
Is it our General Ozzy?
No. I know, right? So this guy, I remember this moment, man. Like, so this guy's name was Ozzy, and at one point so they called him RIP, R-I-P. At one point, he was second in command of the Latin Kings. The Latin Kings, which is the biggest Latino gang, right? And now, of course, there's other like MS-13, different things, but at that time, the Latin Kings. So he had gotten saved. And now I'm in his house, and I'm very curious, right? Because at that time, I'd done some evangelism in gang-infested areas, especially in what they call North Tulsa, with around gangbangers and different places. But it was the first time I was sitting in a house with someone who had, committed murder and different crimes, but now was saved. And when we're sitting in his house, and I'm saying, how did you get saved? And he's telling me the story. He heard testimony from somebody who had lived that life. And then I said, what makes a young person to pick up a gun and go and kill someone to join your gang? Because one of the conditions of that gang is that you have to commit a crime in order to join. So I said, what would make a young man from just a normal...
And was there like a qualification of what kind of a crime it is?
It has to be murder. Like murder's at the top, then you're like, you're good. So imagine everyone who's part of that gang has done some serious stuff, right?
Yeah.
So all other things are minor, but like murder's like, okay, cool. Now you're in it because now you're bound for life.
Yeah.
So, and I said, what would make a young man do that? And he said it like in just the most, it's love, man. I'm like, yeah.
Love for what? Love for who?
I'm expecting this gangster to tell me, or a former gangster to tell me this crazy thing. No, and he's like, no, man, Abel, man, we make these boys feel loved. Like, we start asking them questions like, hey, how's your mom? How you doing at home?
And then these kids would be like, nah, there's no food at the house. We take out $100. They're like, hey, man, look after your family. You're a man, bro. And then the next time we'll do that. And then the next time we're like, hey, man, this money don't come for free. and so, but if you look at it, it was, they're relating to like we relate to the things that matter in that person's life.
Yeah.
We'll come with like, oh, how's your family? How's everything?
Yeah.
What can we do for you?
Are you in school?
Yeah,
No, I dropped out. Oh, okay. What's
Different
the problem?
things.
No money.
Exactly. Right now on social media, I don't know if it will still be trending by the time, but there's an interesting story of somebody who's sharing and saying, their story about their father. Now, whatever positions people take, but they're saying, where were you guys when when this man is broken, when this person was hospitalized? When were you where were you when I was in prison? Where were you when I was addicted to alcohol? Where were you when I was addicted to this thing? Where were you when, instead of gossiping, where were you? Did you walk with me? Did you sit with me? Right? And that's why I keep saying Matthew chapter 9, when Jesus says, those who are well have no need of a physician, a doctor, but those who are sick. We go to the doctor and we're like, okay,
Absolutely.
I'm not well.
Yeah.
So at the table where Jesus is sitting at, I always call it the table of grace, at Matthew's house, who's a tax collector, there's all sorts. There's prostitutes, there's what? The Pharisees are looking and saying, what are those people doing there? Because they can sense healing. They're like, this is where my healing is. But then we're setting conditions. Imagine you're in an emergency, you're about to die. Imagine then they say, please fill out this form. That's what we're doing sometimes. Please fill out this long form. Were you baptized? Were you shan? Shan. But I'm like, I just want to get to him. Like the woman with the issue of blood. I just want to get to, if I can just touch him, guys, I'll be good. But it's like, no, first of all, we need to know what your history. Do you drink? Do you shan? Do you what? Do you what? And then people are missing out on Jesus. People never get an opportunity to sit at the table. We want to see the people that we want to see at those tables. I say the harvest, the line about the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few is a very powerful line, because for me, when you think about harvesting, right? I don't know if you've ever been done farming or anything, but it's a labor job. It's a labor job. A labor job is something like, Kenny, help me lift this.
That's physical. It's very, very physical.
It's something you should be able to do naturally. And Jesus says, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. This job of telling people about Jesus, this job about sharing the gospel, it's a labor job. But we've made it so superficial. No, the anointing is upon this person, shan. No, shan, the oil. Hey, shan, what. Labor jobs. And God is like, any one of you should be able to do this thing. Any one of, because you've made it so superficial. The moment someone sees a vision, you want to build them a statue. No, they're prophetic. No, shan. Peter, what he prophesied says, in the last days, your sons and daughters you will do these things, guys. Like it should be natural. But then we've superficialized it so much that I think you now expecting that anyone who is grabbing a mic and singing a gospel song should be put on a high pedestal. Anyone who grabs a microphone in front of a congregation somehow should be treated with a certain level. I get respect, but there's a thing now. There's something like, now we're creating mediators between us and God, right? Oh, I can't worship unless it's this person who's leading. I can't worship unless that person is leading. And trust me, that would take me down another rabbit hole about.
I can imagine.
But I just feel like, not even just feel. I do honestly believe that revival will happen with the very same outcasts. The very same people you thought, shouldn't step into a church. The very same people that you've rejected. That's who the Holy Spirit, that's who the power of God is going to fall upon, right? It's the most odd people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not really trying to say, and the thing is, just imagine the most awkward person that people would say, right, would picture and say, maybe they're very controversial. I don't want to say names because, of course, but just think about that person. And then just imagine that person being touched by God, and then they start, guys, God is good, God is amazing, God is whatnot, right? The moment of those
vimbale full up at Facebook, shan. Now, here's where the problem happens. The problem is then we want to build a community around that person, right? I feel like I'm a car salesman. I'm selling you the car. Don't follow me, follow the car. Tell me whether the car is good performance. Because I'm telling you, it works, right? I tell people like, Jesus works. And I find people like, no, the problem, when I go to church, my fashion show, I'm like, you're looking at the wrong people. You've been invited to the table. Jesus is right there. But then you're looking at, a prostitute. Trust you me, you'll never stop finding scandals around that table. You'll never stop finding a reason to not be around these people. They'll make you feel dirty. They'll make you feel what? But if you focus on who at the head of the table is, then nothing else will matter. And that's why I always say, like, the thief next to Jesus on the cross was one of the most powerful experiences, because if he looked at the crowd that was hanging him, he knew he was guilty. He's like, I'm here because I deserve to be here. But he looked away and looked at Jesus, and he said, remember me. Gave his life over to Christ and said, hey, me here, I'm done. If I look at these people, I'll focus on the wrong thing. Let me focus on you. Are we good? And Jesus says, yes. Today, and that's what I tell people, like, look, you're focusing on the wrong things. You're focusing on everything else that doesn't really matter, and that the very center of it is really just Christ. And that's who matters. That's when everything is done, man. That's what's gonna matter the most.
So Abel, most of the born again Christians, people that you go to church with and so forth, the fact that you tend not to sort of like just be boxed into a space where there's only born agains and Christians and whatnot. The fact that you get out and you go out there, and I think you cut across. You're probably one of the few, if not the only one, that I will see performing maybe at a gospel event, and even sometimes at a secular event, so to speak. Hasn't that sort of like created? I know you touched on it briefly, but hasn't it like created a bit of a problem with some of your friendships? Because I'm thinking. Others might be like, okay, if I'm seen with Abel, I might be labeled like I'm with him, especially if people in church feel that what you're doing is not correct. Has it costed you friendships?
Yeah.
Have you had close friends coming to you to tell you, can you stop doing this?
Of course. I remember there are a few times when people have been told, look, if you want to minister at our church again, don't associate with him. If you want to have a concert at our church, don't put him on your lineup. Don't. And for me, it doesn't affect me. I'll be very honest. If we're looking at it from a career-wise, 90% or 95% of my bookings are private, corporate, non-church related. That's 90%. And I'm a gospel artist. That's 90%, 95% of my bookings. Now, that's not saying that, then people say, but are you ministering? Are you missing out? I will honestly say, I don't blame them at the same time, because I also understand, like, this is not for everybody. I say, look, it's not for everybody. This is one of those things where even I'm like, God, just make me normal. Just make me easier to fit in. Right? Trust you me, man, I've been to Bible school. I've graduated from great Bible school, did very well. I could have come back and given myself a title. You know what I'm saying? I could have been a reverend by now or different things. And I know have a gift, right? I understand I have a gift. But at the same time, I also understand that I have flaws. So I'm not quick to rush. I'm not quick to rush in position and saying, no, you guys should recognize me. What? Because then I'll be like, that would be my pride speaking. I'd rather take my humility and just be like, oh, okay, you don't feel I fit into you. Every church, understand that has a structure, has a template, has a code of conduct, has a way of life, right? And that structure is important to them. And if they say, like, for example, even if you are a very powerful Pentecostal preacher, you probably won't be allowed to preach in an SDA church, right? Yeah. Why? Because the SDAs have a way that they do. There's doctrines, there's teaching that they're like, us we don't mix with this. The Catholics are the same way. The people who take the pulpit in the Catholic Church are called fathers, right? Now, you won't find an SDA pastor going to preach in a Catholic church unless some, interchurches something, right? But that's the thing, is I've come to understand, like, oh, okay, churches have a way and a conduct and the way that they also have to maintain they have the congregations. They have concerns by their church members. People come to them and say, no, but why shine? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes there's also church politics, right? But for me, I'm just like, look, I can't change any of those politics. I can't change a system. I don't run a system. But I understand that somebody who's a pastor is under a system and a thing. They can't do what I do, and I can't do what they do. So usually times when I hear somebody say, why is Abel, we shouldn't be doing anything with secular artists and different things. And I say, yeah. I'm not even encouraging young gospel artists to say that no, because Abel did, let me also do a collaboration. I'm like, no, I had a conviction. Right? You were not conviction. You didn't see. I saw the day I had Chandana K on stage with me. I saw a vision. I was at home. I was like, I saw myself on stage praying with him. Exactly the same thing that happened that night. Yeah. I saw a vision, and I know for a fact that God shows me visions. And I'm like, I saw a vision. I'm like, oh, I guess I got to do that. But then the question is, other artists would be dragged, finished, lose all their followers, lose all their fans, and different things like that. But I'm like, that's what I'm saying. It's not for everybody. And I don't encourage anybody to just jump into something. And I think so many times people do things for the sake of, if this thing made this person popular, then let me also do it. If this thing made this person popular, then let me also do it. I know sometimes people will always relate and say, hey, you guys, even we go to you guys used to go to clubs, used to go to what? Used to go to. I'm like, yeah, but it cost us, right? It cost us dearly. It cost us with a lot of fans. It cost us a lot of people. And because you also have to understand, when you're a gospel artist, many times, you are considered an alternative to the world. So churches will package like you're a Christian rapper. So they'll say, oh, don't listen to the Drakes. Don't listen to the what. We have this, right? So already you are a Christian entertainer. Don't listen to the Yo Maps. We have a Pompey. Don't listen to the, Slap D's. We have a Mag 44. So already, you remember that they're telling you like, hey, you belong to us in our congregation.
And that's just an example, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just an example, right? So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But that's the way things go.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is now you're afraid because if, for example, a major festival that is going to, people say, if you go there, you are now taking those same church fans with you to that event. Now the question is, where do you stand? What do you do? Right? Oh, you shared the stage with this person. I'll give an example. When we did Try Again, right, with Your Maps.
Yeah, that's a big song, by the way.
Yeah, it was a very big song. And now we had the stadium, right? And I may have been, I'm not saying I just was, but I may have been the only gospel artist on that entire lineup that night. Maybe some of them were backing in different things, but that was how the night went. But what I didn't tell anybody was on my set is that I'd put a worship song in my set.
Okay.
Not that anyone restricted it, but I just I felt like I wanted it to catch people off guard. So when during my set I did the songs and they're like, oh, you only have a few minutes, you're gonna do because I think they'd also tried to say, oh, can you do extra time and listen?
Yeah.
I said, okay. But the band knew. And midway through I said, oh, let's do Mulibakulu. And the band, and we switched into Mulibakulu. The way the power of God fell in that place. It was that grace that was needed.
Yeah.
Where, like the Bible says, where sin abounds, grace abounds also. It was people lifting up. It was people crying. It was people, you know what I'm saying? People like, hey, they're lifting with the alcohol. When God speaks, when the word of God goes out, it doesn't return void, right? So I always believe that something has been planted in that heart. And many people came up to me and wrote to me like, man, you don't know what you did.
Yeah.
Like you really touched me. That night, I was just there like on vibes, but then, and I do that with my sets. I do that with trying to incorporate that because there is a world out there which, if it had its way, wouldn't want anything to do with gospel. They don't even, if they even smell that you are going to bring gospel, they'll lock the door.
Yeah.
And somehow we've broken that. The devil, in fact, would want you to just have your, you guys, okay, you listen to gospel at church, from church in your car, church, home. But we don't want to hear it on radio. We don't want to hear it every day. We don't want to hear it any other day. Then that's cool. And then the question is, at the end of the day, when years from now you're looking back and say, what happened to people? Like, what happened to all those values? What happened to all those things? Why are people acting like this? Why? Remember what happened in the States when they removed prayer in schools? Now they're like, what happened? What happened? It's the same thing, you know? It's like you can't alienate the gospel, and we also can't make it only for ourselves. Yeah.
This is the KDT One-on-One podcast. Our guest today is Abel Chungu. We take a break. We'll be right back. This is the KDT One-on-One podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the KDT One-on-One podcast on YouTube. Remember to hit that bell button so that every single time we upload a new episode, you get that notification. My guest today is Abel Chungu. Abel, let's speak about your early life. We didn't speak about that.
Yeah.
Where were you born? What was your life like?
I was born in Lusaka, contrary to popular belief.
But you remember like you're from Kopala.
No, I'm Bisa. I'm Bisa by tribe.
Okay.
Yes. So
all right.
Bisa, my dad was Bisa. He was also from the royal family. Senior Chief Kopa is even my cousin. Mm-hmm. So we are Bisa by tribe, and and grew up but right after I was born, my dad moved us to the UK, where he was doing he was studying. Mm-hmm. He was also he had served in government. My mom before that, she was the first female housekeeping manager, black, in the country. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Intercontinental.
Pastor Gina, how is she?
Well, she's good.
It's been a long time. I haven't seen her.
So for Intercontinental, so shout out to her. And so after that we moved back to Zambia. I went to Jacaranda. Yeah, so I was shout out to Jacaranda. Then after that, that's when my dad moved us to the States, where he had been appointed as ambassador to the United Nations. Yeah. And we lived in New York, went to a school called Our Lady of Fatima, and it was a pretty nice childhood. Then moved back to Zambia.
At what age did you
I moved back to Zambia when I was about 10. And then after that, we went to a school called Goka, Gospel Church Christian Academy. It was run by the Reuters. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Taonga Trust School, which was for my high school. So when, it was very different. When we moved back, I think that's when it really got that's when things changed.
Yeah.
Stability. My dad, was no longer, he was removed from his position. And then they didn't pay him his benefits till this day.
Till this day?
Till this day.
Oh, no.
So whoever's watching, you watching, yeah, till this day. And so he never got his benefits. So we went through a very hard time. But that was when I saw the faith of my parents, man. Like they were, if the people are Christians, but those two, they were Christians. Yeah. Because man, they that's all they did. Just keep us in prayer, keep us in line. God will come through. God will pull through. There was times, and also I think my family, one of the things my dad would do, and my mom they would always make us know that even when things were good, like these are not your things. These things are things we worked for. Even if you work for them. Yeah. So when I was growing up, you'd find me, even if it wasn't like, mfano wa mayad. No, me and my friends would go and play football in Ngombe, compound, would play back and the sun comes back. Because even I think that's why I enjoyed Jacaranda, because it didn't matter, right? Whether you're a minister's son, you're what, we all shared the same class, government schools very early in those days. So when we went through a hard time, it was like we had so many different people and friends. Like I remember one thing that things would be so bad sometimes that we had friends in the markets where you would go and Kongola, ndio.
Yeah.
But my dad would start planting thing, and my dad would be fighting bailiffs, fighting Chansa. He had also been, he had studied human rights law, so bailiff, Shani, that went through all of that, and my mom has a hair lotion called Gina's Hair Food Lotion. It makes hair grow. So that also was it would sustain us. And one of the things I always honor about my mother was that even when you could feel like, okay, it's her money now that's helping us, man, that woman never lost respect for my father. Like, you never felt a hierarchy change.
Yeah.
Like,
because you usually see that a lot.
Yeah, like most men will say, the moment you lose your job, okay. But I'm telling you, there's this tradition where my father would, if food is cooked, he's the first one to eat.
Yeah.
It never changed. It never changed through good, bad times. And I even talked to my mom recently about that. It's like, that shocked me, like the way you maintained respect for him. Like he was no longer in position, but you made him feel like he was still always that man, right? He was still always that man who was respectable. And even when people would come to the house, people who were more wealthy, different things. My father was no respecter of your money. And that's why even people like respected him. People from wealthier families would bring their children, please, can you talk to my child, discipline? Because they loved the discipline my father had. And he was just like, listen, things are supposed to be done like this, things are supposed to be done. Whether you're a politician, whether you're what, this is the way things are. And I think even when he had people held him in high regard, especially politically, even the late Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who had passed the message over and said, if I had more young men like Otema, because my father would even tell us, like, he would be in office with the president and say, Wakaramba, we can't do this because, Abantu Wakatseka, this is wrong for the people. My dad was a very solid advisor that even the presidents respected, but he was also very prayerful in the sense that he'd be like, look, let's pray. What is God telling us to lead a nation? There's so many things that's why even to today, I find it hard when people try to tell me, like, will you do a campaign song, when you get a political and different things? Because there's one thing my dad taught me. He says, look, if you're ever going to work for a leader, work with a leader. He says, be close enough to tell them the truth, but also be willing to walk away when they're not willing to do what's right. And you have to be at that place. Because sometimes if we're on that, vote for Mwisho, and Mwisho will lead us. You know what I'm saying? Mwisho is lovely. That's why for me, I think, I know it might sound like it's diverting, but I don't have anything wrong with anybody do it. But for me, I feel like growing up in a political family, I've seen leaders change, and I've seen leaders, remain the same. And I also feel like, my music is sacred. I can stand behind anything I sing. So if you tell me to sing about somebody, an individual, I'd say this person is amazing, awesome. I feel like that's a truth I cannot stand on for the rest of my life. Somewhere along the line, if that person changes, that song will not change. That song will remain out there, right? But if I sing about God, if I sing about Christ, he was never going to change. Generations to generations, it's still the same thing. So that's how I find, that's my political background, in the sense that that's why it also affects my certain belief systems I have today. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's speak about your siblings, just really quickly.
Yeah.
I know them, but for the sake of that person that's that's watching, I didn't actually know that Otema was junior.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. I played basketball with him many years ago when he came back. He's a really great guy. Yeah. So how many were you in the family?
We've got quite a number. That's all I can say. But I've also got stepbrothers and sisters. Okay. We would say but we don't really refer to that, right?
Those lines.
So we have a few brothers who are abroad mostly, and then, but I'm the last born of the bunch.
Are you?
I'm the last born, man.
Okay. Kazia is at number one.
Kazia is the third to the last. So there's Kazia, then there's Damien, and then there's myself.
Awesome.
So so I'm the last born. But mind you, most people say, Kasuli. I'm like, guys, let me just tell you this. In our family, my dad, we didn't call him general for national. Because he had this military kind of hierarchy. Kwanza marank mujumba. So but you even know that the one who's above you has more authority than you. But then the one who's above them. So imagine, my brother Damien, very muscular, very big. But even in my dad, the way he would treat everybody is that Kazia still had some form of power above him. And then now imagine if you're at the bottom, Private Abel. There's no one, man.
Private is the lowest rank.
Man. Yeah. So it's like, who says you're getting new shoes? Which shoes has your brother outgrown? First of all, before you know what I'm saying. So it was that, and it was a good thing because it taught you respect wherever you went. You know, it didn't. My brother, so everyone also felt responsible for the person who was younger than them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you do, sometimes you'd even get konyo from your other brothers because they're like, you're gonna get me in trouble for you doing this, right? Because and my dad had this thing about lectures. Ish, if one of you does something wrong, okay. We are all going to
have a sit down.
Oh my God, 2 hours. Yeah, shut. So now you're all like, bruh, stop doing this because you're all going to get in trouble for it. Yeah.
Abel, let's speak about your time at Rhema Bible College in Oklahoma in 2009. You studied theology. Did you see it through to the end?
Yeah. So what I also majored was youth ministry.
Yeah.
Youth. So I found that was very good because I think for me, because when I came back, I worked as a youth director for my church.
Okay. And which church is that?
Miracle Life.
Okay.
Yeah. So prior to that, what I would do was, I think the youth ministry was I was given an option whether I wanted to study anything. And when I did it, it was life-changing because, and I think that's why I have this perspective about the kingdom of God, because to me, what I saw was their ministry was very engaging in terms of teaching you about strategy, right? And how the world is very strategic about how it engages young people, how it engages young. If your church, and I always say this to churches, your church youth group is up against everything else that wants the youth's attention. That's one thing you have to know, hands down. Your church, the problem is if you start seeing your church youth group as like a daycare for people, where parents who come to your church can drop off their kids. No, you have to start seeing your church youth group as something that is engaging a world.
Actually, drop off is you're being very very modest. I think it's where they can dump their kids.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So you have to see your youth group, the youth, as some people that engage. Youth are voting. Youth are making decisions about the country. There's a lot of things that we think, oh no, in Zambians we can never do that. Trust you, the next generation is going to change that narrative.
But also the youth form up a larger part of the demographic of this country.
So if you're not strategic, especially as a church, in how do you engage youth? How do you talk? What are youth? Where do you meet them where they are? Musically, entertainment, all of those things, media, lifestyle. You're gonna keep losing a generation, right? And we're only working with them in pockets, only the ones that come to our churches. So I think with youth ministry, it taught me to be very strategic in how you're engaging young people.
So then when you finished your theology, you went and
and I served.
You started doing something with the young people in the church.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, how did that go and for how long?
I did for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
And then of course, my contract was not renewed after that. And I've said it before, I still maintained a very good relationship at church.
Why was your contract not renewed?
So I think, basically it's because I think I started realizing more than anything, I couldn't be administrative.
Okay.
So one of the strengths of our church is it's very good administratively as well, right? In all those aspects. They have everything. There's a lot of paperwork. Yeah. It's one of the most diligent churches in terms of keeping track of things, tithe, different things, whatnot. Not that no things, but I knew that my passion would be, I wanted to engage people more, spend more time like out there, you know what I'm saying? Calling up, how are you doing? Different things. I wanted to have more fellowship, but I couldn't strike a balance with the fact of how do I do paperwork? I'm spending a lot of time behind the desk, and at the same time, I really want to be out there. And I think all things work together for good, because I felt like eventually, I don't think I would have had this career the way it is if I had stayed in that position. At the time, I was just like, when it happened, I was just like, okay, God, I don't know what it is, but
did you feel disappointed?
Huh? I was hurt. I cried the first day, man, because it's like it happened they told me like on a Thursday, I think it was a Friday, and I had youth on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I had to now tell the kids on Saturday, like, hey guys, because it was one of those things. Like it was very heartbreaking, but it was like I just said okay. So then I didn't have a job, and I was given like a grace period to, like, okay, until you find a job, we can take you on in terms of maintenance. So I had a maintenance job when fortunately, what my salary was cut down.
When you say maintenance job, what do you mean?
Like doing maintenance, like cleaning different, like picking up boxes. That was a grace period job until I found
in the church.
Job. Yeah,
okay.
the church. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So then they would monitor and assess, you know what I'm saying, whether, how you doing in this, like. So it was, imagine, like from being pastoral staff to now maintenance job. And during that period of time, I took it. I was like, okay, if it's going to help me feed my family, then I'm good. And I took it. And I was a maintenance job. I worked on it for like about 3 months. But it was such a beautiful time because I generally think two songs, very powerful songs came out of that. One was Warrior. I was also not allowed to sing in church for 3 months while I was doing that.
What?
I guess I don't know. I guess maybe it was just one of those character buildings, or during this period of time, we just want to know that your heart is good, or it's right in the right place. And I took it, and I trust you, man.
Did you do something wrong?
No, not in the sense. It was just I couldn't keep up with the pace of the way the ministry was designed, and that's why it goes back to that thing where the ministry, because they even said, okay, look, they'll tell me like, look, you're lacking behind in, files and different things, and those things they matter, right, to a church. And the church, like I said, every church has a structure, has a way they do things.
Yeah.
And even till now, I still have a great relationship. I still have utmost respect for the ministry, and it's thriving, it's growing. And anyone who's been there knows it's a very demanding ministry in terms of if you're working there.
Yeah.
So during that period of time, again, you have to understand, like, people take hardships or a hard time if you take it with bitterness, you'll miss the lesson, and you'll miss because
there's always a reason as to why these things happen at the end of the day.
I've just always just accepted, like, you know what, at that moment, my prayer, even when they said it to me, I cried and I said, you know what, I prayed that morning. I prayed for God's grace. I said, God, show me your grace. And then I got fired. And I saw the grace of God after that. And I realized it was the best thing that happened. Because one of the songs I wrote was Warrior.
Yeah.
Warrior was a song that came. Imagine you're working maintenance work. You're seeing people the way that people are looking at you. Some of the workers, they're like, but Pastor, what's happening?
When's our boss?
And right? But I'm just like, hey. And so you're eating shima with the workers. That's a life.
Yeah.
But then after that, I wrote Father's Child. Now that, man, that till this day, it's the most powerful song I've ever written. But then it's also because it was a year after my father had passed away. And that was I learned a very valuable lesson.
Yeah.
And I was also navigating life. Like, still, I think I suffered grief for a long time. I'm navigating life, what life is like without my father. Because I've always felt like he would stand up for a lot of different things. Now I'm just like, okay,
what next?
What do I speak out about? Do I annoy it? Do I just take it? And I flowed with it. And the first place that I got a job at after that was at Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia with Reverend Pukuta Mwanza.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, the late. And he gave me a job, and I took it up. And that's how I found myself in my next job, where we're doing election monitoring. So, and that was like the department they had given me, because we're closer to elections towards 2011 at the time. And it was just it was a humbling experience. And after that, that's when I realized, I think towards 2012 is when things started like, okay, this music is becoming more demanding. And that's when I just said, okay, I'm going to take a leap, and I'm going to try to go full-time music.
So I really want to know how you started with music. Who was your inspiration? How did you? I know Musuka plays guitar. He sings as well. So where'd you get this music? This music talent from?
My brother.
We'll speak about your work at Cabanana but later on. But let's speak about the music first. How did it start?
So it was my brother. He took me the first time. He took me. He was a very demanding teacher. Damien. He still is very, very big perfectionist. That's why he's muscular. I'm not. I'm getting there. I'm gonna get that six pack. But you know, he took me to a studio when I was about 12 years old. Right. He took me to Romacide. Right.
TK.
Yeah. I don't even know if it was called Romacide at the time. I think I was even there when they named it Romacide. Like, you know. So that's how far back. And I was about 12 years old. And we went, and my brother was like, oh, yeah, my brother. So we started off as rappers. Myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what were you calling yourselves?
Oh, man, did we even have a name? I had different rap names. I had different rap names. I think my first rap name was Archangel. I'm telling you. That was my first rap name. Lukundo Super. Chef's manager. Yeah, we used to rap together.
Okay.
Yeah. So him and my brother were very close as well because they used to have a rap duo. So we always used to rap in church together. And then I think the first time was like, oh, they like, okay, we need a chorus. And then all of a sudden, then they put you on the chorus. And then now they're like, oh, okay, let's do another chorus. Let's do another. And then start realizing, okay, I can rap and sing. But I think it was my brother who helped me discover that talent. But he was also very strict on me in the fact that, you know, if I wrote something, he would give me tasks where he would say, write a song, but you're only allowed to use every word once. That was, I think, what made me the best version of myself in terms of songwriting. It was the challenge of write a better song. I would sing in front of people. Everyone would be like clapping. Oh, that was nice. My brother would be like, yeah, but you went off key in the third verse. And so I'd be like, ish. Then I would appreciate that, and I would go back and work on it, and work on it, and work on it. And even till this day, I think most people, Magnus always says, I'm the most difficult to work with in the studio, but it's a good thing because I'm very about like, oh, let's get this right, let's get that right. And sometimes it takes long, but at the end of the day, I think it stems from that.
Good food takes long to cook, brother. So, and also if you're dealing with a perfectionist, I think it's the nature of the beast. You studied some IT at some point.
I tried, man. Shout out to Nipa.
What do you mean you tried?
I tried studying IT at what is that? What the course? IMIS. I think I say. Yeah. We tried. I went to Nipa. Mr. Chwalo gave me a shout out to him, and so I went to Nipa. I made some good friends there. But I think one of the things that was kind of weird about that time was I'd just come from doing my first job where I was working with Cabanana. Right?
Okay.
So I'd known a lot of people in the entertainment industry. So it was kind of different being a student and seeing people's perspective of this whole industry that you were just part of. So I was in the background, but I kind of met everybody and backstage shows and different things. So then going to school to study was like, oh, okay. I guess this is a bit. It wasn't like I wasn't like too difficult, but it was just a different experience, right? Till I think eventually where it really paid off, I think was just it gave me a touch because I realized how different my life was. Like no one starts their first job at 18, 19. No one starts a big job like all of a sudden you're working on a big soap opera. Like who does that?
And how did you hook that up?
There's a lady called Chilufya Chilangwa, who was also part of the production.
I think I remember Chilufya.
Yes. Chilufya and I would go to church together, and we're also partially related. And so one day I'm sitting outside the gate. I'd finished, I think it was a year after I finished my exams, right? I'm now like, hey, I'm now a graduate. What do I do next? And then she was driving, and she just stops her car. And she goes, hi, Chungu. Hey. And she goes, how would you like to work for me? I'm like, yeah, I didn't even know what the job was. I was like, yeah, where? And then she goes, we're looking for some intern directors. People would like to learn how to direct and different things. So I was like, cool. So
you had never met Mr. Thompson before then?
Never met Mr. Thompson before that. Then she brought me close, and that's how I met Mr. Thompson, aka Mr. T. And so they brought me in as an intern director. At the time, the main director was named Ben. So it was.
I remember Ben.
It was like
nice guy.
Yeah, it was nice working in the background, but then
I got a bit like, I would go to Mr. Thompson like, why are we shooting this? Why don't we do it like this? Why are we doing it? Why does the story goes like this? So Mr. Thompson's like, do you want to write scripts? Because if you're a director, you are given the script, and then what you have to do is you make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's when I just said, okay, you know what? I feel like I like to be at the core of something. I like to be at the very core of decision. I don't like to be given like, oh, do this.
Yeah.
I feel like, can I? And I abandoned my directing and I went straight to script writing.
Wow.
So that's how I became a scriptwriter. I think about 18, 19 years old for the Kabanana.
Oh, yeah.
I always laugh about how my first script wasn't received well.
Why? What did the Bali say?
The first time, what is this rubbish? I was like, what? But you know, then thank God Akango Chileshe, who P.S. Kango, who I always say is like like a big brother. You know, he was. I remember sitting there and he's like, no, I just have to know how to talk to them.
Kango has always been a nice guy.
He's always been a nice guy, man. I can't take that away from him. And he goes. And he's sitting there, he's like, okay, Bakaramba, and you realize it was just like small minor changes, whatnot. Then they're like, oh, the rest is good. So that also gave me an idea. I realized, man, like these characters are established in their ways and they've been like that for a while. So you can't come and just change something, right? Yeah. You feel like, oh, let me spice this up about this character. No, this person knows their character this way. So we got permission from Mr. Thompson to create a character. And that character was a character called Chembo, right? Like, can we just work with this character? And I think that was one of the best things that we had, because now we can do anything we wanted with this character. And that's how, and the person who played that role was Mwape. So yes. So that's why I always says, like, he credits his first acting role in the terms of how my brother and I, because of how he wrote his character, and he was super entertaining. And I would do these things where because I would walk between ZNBC and Kalundu. So I'd stop by Yunza common room and I'd watch Kabanana in the common room to see their reactions live. And so if people clapped, shouted, I realized, okay, they respond to this, they're responding to that, they respond to this. Then I would go home and now start writing. Yeah.
It was a good... So let's speak about how you met Pompey and Mag 44.
So I met Mag much earlier through a guy called Ian. Ian Chtundu is the one who mixes and masters everything for us.
Guys in the background. We never know them.
Ian.
And yet they play a very, very important role.
We'll never do a TikTok, shiny media. We'll never see Ian.
Yeah.
Okay. Ian just likes background work. His studio is one of the biggest, like, state of the art. He's such a, Ian is the one that taught Magnus. And and that's how they started working together. Yeah, I met Ian through a church, and then he told me, oh, no, me and my called him his cousin at the time. He says, me and my cousin make beats. Yeah. And I said, oh, you make beats? I write music. Yeah. So that's how Ian came. I went to their house, and for real, they had some dope beats, man. Yeah. And so while they're playing the beats, I just started singing. Yeah. And I'm like, let's write, let's do this. So I started writing, and then we just had this relationship where I'm writing music, they're making beats, and then Magnus is like, oh, I also rap. You rap? Oh, man, let's do this. And so it became a great friendship when we were young. I think we were like late teens, and then, we grew together. Then I moved out the country. By the time I came back, me and Ian used to talk on the phone and be like, man, I just feel the need that we need to go back to Zambia. Yeah, we felt the calling. And at the time before when Ian had gone, the only other person I'd worked with was Taz, and
Goemi Records.
Yes, Goemi Records.
It's very talented
Records. Here's another thing. Few people know this, but you remember the tagline?
I know the tagline, but I failed to understand what it actually says. Oh, this is a Goemi Records production.
Don't you know this is a Goemi Records production?
Yeah,
that was me.
Oh, you did that?
Yes. So I did that. So because I was about to go to the States, that was the time I got accepted to Bible school, and I'm like, I'm about to go to the States. Yeah. And then Taz is like, bro, can you drop me some taglines? Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I started these things where I was like, okay. I'm like, Taz 2000, Taz 2007, Taz 2000. And I'm like, Then I just did this funny thing like, don't you know this is a Goemi Records production?
And he's like, that's the one.
That's the one. So I was spooked when I started hearing like, oh, somebody sends me Zambian music. I'm like, oh, then I press play. I'm like, wait a minute. It's like, yeah, that's not.
He's a good producer. He's in Tanzania right now. Big shout out to Taz. He's a friend and brother. I think he's very, very talented.
Exactly. So when we moved and we started making music, when I came back, that's the time we met Pompey. So Pompey actually introduced us through Ian. And I think Pompey had wanted to make music. And Ian was like, I can't work with you, the kind of music that you do. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I had a Bible study.
Okay.
And so I think Mandiva had already started, ministering to Chaka Pompey. And I had a Bible study, which I had started this private Bible study for musicians, right? And my main target was basically also the secular artist, because I had realized, like, many of them, when you'd minister to them, you realize that they were always, usually some of them would tell you, like, oh man, I've always wanted to do gospel music, or I had this calling, or I used to go to church. But then now when I go to church, all of a sudden I'm looked at, or all of a sudden someone wants to prophesy over me, or next thing I'm told, hey, the sinners are sitting there. Like, there just seems to be like dramatic nonsense that used to happen to a lot of secular artists when they'll try to go to church. So I said, okay, good, I'm starting this Bible study. Why don't you guys come? The first two guys who ever showed up to the Bible study was Pompey and Slap D.
Oh, Slap too.
No, die. Like, that Bible study was so dope. We had everybody came through, man. Slap came through, Pompey came through, Mwape had come through, Zone Fam at the time. So we just used to sit, and I'll just read the word, and I'd say, what do you guys interpret? We'd just go through scripture. People would talk, debate, different things like that. Then at the end, we'd say, okay, this is interpreting scripture based on that. And I just remember there was one time when Pompey left the Bible study, and he just posted on his Facebook, says, I'm no longer going to use my music to glorify myself. I'm going to use it to glorify God.
Oh, wow.
And it was a very powerful thing, because then after that, like, he never really looked back. And we had so many different, of course, then there was all the people coming out, no, he's a Satanist, no, who's using him, no, who's his spiritual father. But I'm glad that we weathered through that storm, and now we can see the greatness of the artist and the person that he is. He's such an amazing, very solid guy, man. Yeah.
Big shout out to our sponsors, MTN, everywhere you go, Abaleya carpooling, as well as Yatu Tea. Remember, Yatu Tea is available in all leading supermarkets across the country. Abel, let's speak about your meeting with, your knowing or being introduced to Sauti Sol. And the whole East Africa. You toured East Africa at some point.
Yes, I did.
At some point. Can we get into that?
So I met Sauti Sol when I was in Ndola. So I have an orphanage that I've been supporting for the last 10, maybe even now, 13 years.
Oh, in Ndola?
Yes, in Ndola, called Face of a Child Foundation.
Okay.
So even right now, we're doing this fundraiser where we're building a wall fence, like a build a brick. So, and it's got a free school. Mm-hmm. So I was there visiting the orphanage and doing some work there. And then one of my, Sauti Sol was doing Color Fest, right? And I'd heard of Sauti Sol when I'd gone to Kenya, right? And, some of my friends, we went out and were listening. Then we heard, there's that song, it's actually a vibe. It was like basically it was like a wedding song. Mm-hmm. Such a dope song. I can't even remember. I don't know why.
What song is it? Do you guys remember there? Susanna.
No. Susanna came much later. I'm just trying. It's like one of their early pieces. It was such a big hit, right?
Yeah.
And I loved the song. So I was like, oh man, that's when I started going down the rabbit trail, listening to their music. So now I'm in Ndola, and then my friend, who's a photographer, was taking pictures at their event. Mm-hmm. So Leandro calls me and he says, Chungu, like what? He's like, bro, I think you need to come to this hotel where this Sauti Sol is at. I'm like, why? He says, they'll at a press conference and they'll ask about Zambian musicians they know, and they mentioned you as. I'm like, what?
What? Really?
Yeah, man, they mentioned you, bro. Like, I think you need to come. I'm like, So now I kind of assume I know, because there's the first invitation to Kenya I'd ever got was a lady called Rebecca Dawn. Mm-hmm. And Rebecca Dawn and her husband are very close friends with Sauti Sol, right? So Rebecca's I think she kind of mentioned that she had played my music to them.
Okay.
So as soon as I arrive at this hotel,
I don't remember if it was Polycarp or Bjorn, but it's almost like they went there in unison. They looked and said, Abel Chungu, man. Hey, man. I'm like, hey, what? And I'm like, oh, snap. They're like, oh, man, we love your work, man. I'm just like, really? They're like, yeah. I'm like, how do you? And they said, bro, he says, we keep track of great songwriters, like in Africa, and you are, man.
You're one of them.
You're one of them. So we hung out that night, and we said, then they said, okay. So we said, we should do some work. Then they're like, dude, if we're going to do a recording, you should come to Kenya. So I thought, okay, cool. Then I had this East African tour from Uganda to Kenya that I was going to do. So I was like, okay, cool.
Did you tour with Roberto?
No,
you did.
It was just me.
Okay.
So I went to Uganda, and we did like probably the first biggest crowd I'd ever made. It was like 44,000 people.
Is this where the president came and gave a speech?
This is a different one.
This one is a different one.
Waterhouse one that we did much later.
Okay.
Yeah, that came much later on.
Yeah.
So no, that actually came before. That was before. That was Uganda. But then this one was me and Levikson. So the guy called Levikson, who's like humongous there.
Yeah.
So we had like 44,000 people. Then I was gonna do my own solo concert in Kenya, at a place called Nyamamamas. So I arrive in Kenya and I hit them up. I'm like, hey guys, I'm in Kenya, and they're like, yeah, cool, come through. So we got to their studio, and it was just nice. It was just a vibe. They were very cool. There was a time they took a break, like, oh, we need to take a break. Our accountant is here. I'm like, so it gave me a very nice perspective in terms of how they do their stuff and what saw them, what kept
the business
them
side of things.
Yeah, what kept them together as a team. And so now, when they, in fact, prior to that, when they had done Colorfest, they had gone to another country, and then they came and did a free concert just for the press, and we did it at the former Misty. And so that's another time. So we've hung out. Yeah. And ever since then, I will tell you, every time I go to Kenya, if I call up Bien or...
Bien was here recently. Did you meet up?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Great.
So if I call up Bien or Polycarp, right? Polycarp was mostly the one, if anybody, like even when I was there, Polycarp we went to the studio. He raised a nice studio for me. We had some tracks, which of course we've never released, but there was like, oh dude, I've got this song with a guy called Johnny Drill from Nigeria. Can you just put a verse on this? Like, that's the way they just work. Like, they just love to work.
Yeah.
And so learned a lot of good stuff from them, but they are very good. They'll show up for dinner. Over the years, it's just been a good friendship.
Abel, you performed alongside Casper Nyovest at the Oktoberfest.
At Oktoberfest.
There was a lot of backlash there.
Bruh.
Were you not supposed to be there? What did you do at the event that brought this? Yeah,
we existed. We were alive. I always say that was probably one of the most powerful moments, because we were. I mean, you cannot deny at the time that, as especially as Slaughterhouse, and that was what was so powerful. Where you're so not even the mainstream can like, okay, you know what? Okay, these guys have to headline. You're talking about Oktoberfest, but also it takes me back to so that one was Day of Thunder.
Oh, that was mostly Day of Thunder.
Mostly Day of Thunder, but also takes me back to what that festival was also like, because when we got on stage, we sang, we did, and then at the end I did this. I said, hey guys, do you mind if we pray? And there was like 12,000 people about it. And it was a powerful, beautiful moment, right? And then after that, Casper was the main closing artist, but we were headlining it with him. But also one of the things that I remember, and I raised it up at some time later, because I remember sitting in a meeting with ZB when they were doing Day of Thunder at the time. And there was, of course, that controversy because there was the music awards, right? And then right after that, everyone who was nominated won what would go to Day of Thunder. So Day of Thunder was like the winning artists, and that time Slaughterhouse won, right? The winning artists are the headlining, because like you are the artist people want to see. Yeah. So that's how we found ourselves. And the thing is, I generally felt the festival was very big on being like a festival, where it was, and not disrespecting anything, but those festivals were like, they had Kalindula, they had what, because the awards encompassed everything. Yeah. So even the festival encompassed everything, whether gospel, whether what. Yes, the sponsor was Mosi, but
the fact is that the crowd, it had a very music festival feel. It was what got people excited, who was on that stage. And so it was one of those things. Of course, it caused the backlash because, again, it goes back to that thing I was talking about where there was the thing of you guys are going to lead your youth, because remember, you're made for the youth, church youth ministry. So you're going to lead your youth to Day Offend. Now it's going to be an excuse. So it's not about the youth that are there. It's about the youth that from church that are going to go there. And that's always been the concern, is if you do this, what about the young people? What about the church? But then there's this part in Scripture where the good shepherd will leave the 99 for the one, right? How important is that one person? How important is that singing gospel in a place that people really need it more than the ones who hear it every day? They even have the podcast. They even have, Maverick City on repeat. Then they know which song. Then they know which song they want the mood for. But then there's that person who just has no clue. He doesn't know what the famous pasta is happening right now. He hasn't heard 100 sermons. That person, who's teaching, who's reaching them? And that's the question.
So if you got an opportunity today to go and perform at such an event, because this is a huge event. I mean, the Oktoberfest is big. Mosidale Thunder is massive. Would you still go for it?
I think
despite this backlash?
I think I would pray. I'd have to know whether it's something I need to do. But I think I don't find a reason why I wouldn't. Like I said, it's not, what Abel does is not for everybody. And I also understand that I'm also in line with the kingdom of God. I'm a multi-talented person. I can do comedy, I can sing, I found myself doing marketing. It's something like, no, do one thing. Like, no, God doesn't allow that. Like, God told me to increase my talents, to perfect my gift. So in the fact that my music has hit mainstream, right? A lot of people say like mainstream is like where this line that everyone consumes your music. I generally feel like I don't think I would stop myself, right? It's if I knew in my heart that I needed to be there, or there was an opportunity to be there, you have to understand that when somebody calls you to be on a lineup, which means there's somebody out there who wants to hear your music, right? Of course, again, it comes back to a very debatable thing of there are those who I've heard people come and say, no, they'll use your star, right? No, they'll drain you. No, they're doing this. You don't know what the enemy is doing. There was a time I was being dragged, like, because somebody had taken a line that I'd said from a podcast where they said, oh, Abel Chungu is, for people that judge him for going to these events, like, he's more concerned about people that go to a church of these papas, right? So that was a line that was taken. And I said, man, I really wish they watched the whole interview. But what if also lines up in terms of your question? My view, I am more concerned about someone hearing the gospel in its most pure form. In its most pure form, undiluted, right? So if there's a hindrance to that gospel in the sense that you have added all these other legalistic traditions and other things that are out there, then even if the church, even if it's packaged like a nice church and has everything and the nice sound system and what, but if the people are not hearing the gospel in its purest form, then it's also a big danger, right? It is a danger to the people. So that's basically my point of view. Would I go? I probably go. But that's like my calling, man. Yeah.
How was your work with Zambia Association of Musicians? I think you worked there as Secretary General at some point.
No, so I worked as Secretary General for ZAM under Yatu Tea.
Yeah.
And Gloria Kabungo was the vice at the time.
Yeah.
And then eventually, and that taught me a lot. I still give a lot of respect to Vanjoya because he taught me how to, like, hey, if you want to make change, this is how the system works. This is what we made so many. He's the guy that took me even to Parliament, where I was sitting in meetings with ministers trying to change policies, and a lot of things that I've seen people achieve today. is because I really feel it starts from a lot of the fighting that was happening back then. He tried to give it a structure, tried to give it an office, different things. And also, of course, shout out to the people that came before him. But then it also gave me the opportunity to become chairman of the board for the Zambia Music Copyright Society, ZAMCOPS. So that's how I took over from Honorable Hamkale at the time. And I became the youngest chairman of the board for the Zambia Music Copyright Society. Okay. And we led it from 2018 to 2021. And it was tough. Because also, you met 2020 to 2021. Do you remember what happened in between?
I know there was elections in 2021.
Yes, COVID also happened.
Oh, yeah.
So can you imagine being in charge of people's royalties, their money, and then they are not allowed to perform? But I'm so glad that we weathered that and we came out of that. And by the time 2021 came, I could have stood for another term. I think we had a lot of confidence, but we've built such a system of trust that everyone got reelected. Everyone was in that position. And Gloria Kabongo, who was my vice, she's now the chairman of the board for ZAMCOPS. So I think I did my part.
In your opinion, what is the state of the music industry in Zambia today?
Which side? Because you're gonna get me going. This is where the
whichever side. It's a very broad question. Whichever side you feel you have something to say about.
Okay, I always like to say, God give me wisdom. Let them not see me, but see you. But let me give a good answer.
Yeah.
So there's very different perspectives I have. I think being a gospel artist and also being what would say a mainstream artist, I see two different experiences.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the realest thing I've ever said. And I've held these opinions personally. A lot of people know I have these opinions privately, but I'm going to say this and I hope it might shake some tables, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with, I believe music is like a mineral. Right? So the same way you have gold, copper, different things, right? But the way we treat our minerals here, I feel sometimes reflects the way we treat our music, right? So if we're super focused on copper, we'll miss out on the power of silver. We'll miss out on how we can use emeralds. We'll miss out on how we can use gold, right? Yeah. But we're just like, no, copper is our mineral. But me was like, hey guys, there's a lot of money in emeralds. I believe we're very copper focused. But then you find that the value of the product only becomes valuable when it leaves the country. You see what I'm talking about? You have no buying power in terms of ownership here, but when the guys out there, when they buy it, it has power. So, to me, Zambian music, in the state of it, who are we signed to in terms of our royalty, getting our royalties in terms of, it's foreign entities. Everyone,
you've got ZAMCOPS.
ZAMCOPS collect royalties, yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of them times are non-compliant. We don't even get as much as Malawi does, and Malawi is a smaller country. But imagine, so again, it's mismanagement of a mineral that you have, that if you realize the value of it, you can be able to sell it here and be able to export it and create higher value. But imagine that our money that comes from our royalties usually comes from streams that come from outside, right? That's why people say monetize. Because but the product is made here, it's gotten here, it's drilled here, but then it only has to leave the country for it to have value back.
Yes.
So all my streams are like, oh, how many streams do I have in Australia or South Africa? And what? Then I make money. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So in the end, what ends up happening is we've created this very superficial perspective of the music industry in the sense that it's thriving. No, it's not thriving. It's not thriving in the manner that it should. There was a time I remember I was invited to State House, and there's this famous picture, like most people have seen it, where I'm laughing with President Lungu, because there's a moment where he was asking me what I wanted, right? And I think a lot of artists had given these very personalized thing, no money, chan. And I said, can you change policies for us? Because if you change policies, then we'll all make money, right? And
there's this perspective that we're all making money. No.
Are you not?
That is not the case. Do you know what's made money? Money has come from campaign money. Let's start there.
Yeah, but that's like maybe once in 5 years.
Let me give you an example. There's 2 major labels that were made that came out of. It came at a very strategic time, right? And I'm not going to try to say that those labels, that's why I'm not going to say any names. And I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers in the senses, because I feel like there's been a lot of lessons that have been learned. But the amount of money those labels put on the table for artists changed the music industry in a huge way.
Yeah.
A lot of careers were birthed different. It was money that were just like, whoa, where did this money come from?
Yeah.
We're giving you. The amount of money that one artist was paid for to switch from one label to another is like money people had never seen before.
Do you know what's funny though? You and I were sitting somewhere. I don't know, we bumped into each other. I don't know what we were speaking about, right? And you told me, you said, something big is about to happen. You know, I think we're talking about life and some of the things that we go through.
Yeah.
And you spoke about, you know, from the discussions I'm having, something good is about to happen. I'm about to sign a deal and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, a few days later, I heard that you signed to one of the labels.
Yes.
Which was actually, you know, which changed the game like you're explaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a game changer.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was careful about was I created my own contract. Because I was also under different distribution, a South African distribution label. Now which is under Warner.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is big, but at the same time, it could be bigger. We need to create a way to sustain this income.
Yeah.
The problem is there was a lot of money coming out, but we were not creating an industry that could sustain returns, right? Adequate returns. So if I gave you, I'll sit down, I'm like, guys, if you give me $1 million as a Zambian artist right now, the question is, can I make that do we have the adequate channels to make that $1 million back? If it came as a loan, right? If I do that in the States, guaranteed that person might make that money back. Of course, there's some losses. But then I said, like, if we don't have proper streaming channels, if I don't make money from streaming, if shows are underpaying, even right now, if you bring in a Nigerian artist, no disrespect, I've got a lot of good Nigerian friends. But then if you say, okay, we're paying this Nigerian artist $20,000, and then you call the Zambian artist on the side, hey, brother, you know, we've got a 15 pin for you and your whole band. You just paid this foreign act $20,000. You're paying the Zambian local act. Even then, even right now, I still have people that still owe me money from these events. But then, this is what's happening, right? You're willing to bring in an import. So that's why I'm giving the business narratives, because you have to look at it from a business perspective. Because people think, oh no, it's spiritual. No, trust you me, even the people that you're saying are spiritual, they have a charge. Every person that you saw said, hey, I need to fly first class, I need to share one. Someone paid, right? And even that, when you say, no, at least this, Nathaniel Bassi doesn't charge. Do you know how much they give Nathaniel Bassi when people just decide to give? There's already a sustaining. So I'm like, how do we sustain this industry? So if I'm a secular artist and I want to make money back, you've given me an advance, right? Let's just say you gave me $1 million kwacha. I'm a secular artist. So now we say, okay, I'll pay that back within a couple of years. I'll do dope videos, I'll do this and this and this. Then how am I going to make that money? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a lot of different shows, right? Let's start with shows. So as a secular artist, you can have shows nearly, if you're hot, you can have shows nearly any day of the week. Maybe there's a week, Wednesday, right? You're in Chikabombo, and you do a Friday night in Kabwe. Then on Saturday, you're in clubs, right? You're making, and let's just say you're charging 15,000, 18,000, 30,000 per show. You get what I'm saying? Now, remember when I said 2 different industries? Let me ask you that. Let's just take you're a gospel artist. And I say, okay, man, here's $1 million. How are you making that money back? How are you going to, which churches, even major churches, who I often say, hey, you guys can help by paying the artists a good amount of money. There's money within the churches, because when a famous Maverick City or different people, you are the ones who are paying VVIP. You show up paying the 1,500 kwacha tickets.
Yeah.
You show up and buy and pay those things. But if Ephraim is going to do a concert, you say me, a VVIP could worship. But that's your very own. But oh my goodness, you tell them that TD Jakes is coming to preach next week. They'll find those $5,000 kwacha tickets. They'll find that money. So this is, but then you have the gospel artist who is asked to come, and there's an honorarium, brother. And I'm not looking down, but I'm like, and then you're trying to have an industry that is, it's not for just you, it's also for the people out there. How does a gospel artist now make themselves heard on the famous platforms? How do they make themselves heard on the TV stations, on the thing? Because there's also young gospel artists who are doing hip hop, who are doing R&B, who are doing that, and they have a message that's positive but needs to be heard. But then you have an industry that cannot sustain, and even this industry that we're saying, even the secular industry that we're saying, oh no, it's sustained. Do you remember why a lot of those rap songs have shout outs? Shout out to this person. Shout out. Because they all paid in Darama.
Oh,
the sponsor video. Yes. So even the secular have a backing. You tell me which gospel artist today can tell you I have a financial backer. I have somebody who says, I believe in your ministry. I believe in what you're doing. I'm putting in this. I'm blessed by what you're doing. I want you to be at the most competitive level, because you're not only just reaching out, you're saving souls. Here's something.
I thought you get that kind of backing from your churches. Why are you laughing? Well, as a person who's out here.
Kenny, man.
Yeah.
Kenny, man. That's why I'm trying to tell people, and it's not in any way, no one should take offense, because I think a lot of people try to take offense when it's not given.
Yeah.
You see? What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to give you the basic facts.
Yeah.
The basic facts is, when you enter music, remove that thing of, oh no, I'm passionate. When somebody tells me, oh no, I just want to worship God, I'm like, oh yeah, have you joined the choir? No, but I want to make an album. Oh, so you want to create music. Okay. It's going to cost you money. No, but if you just hear me, I'm like, even if I hear you, you're asking me to pay for your recording. That costs money. To get great quality costs money. To make great music costs money. You're paying the guitarist. You're paying the saxophone player. You're paying the bass guitarist. You're paying the studio for the time. You're paying the electricity. You're paying the studio has to pay rent. All of those things, they cost money. And if the sooner you tell somebody that, guys, there is a money factor that is important to this, in the same way that churches get offering. They're like, hey, we need to keep the lights. There's churches that rent. Not everyone has their own building. We have a building fund. Please give. They do that. The gospel artist doesn't have that. The gospel artist has to make the music and then has to find a way to get a return from that music. This is why I'm saying, what is the standard? This is where it's at. Now, there are many who are thriving, who are doing good, because also, I think with other country artists who are coming from bigger economies, you find there's a bigger demand, right? They have also people in diaspora who are supportive of them. But also us. We don't really have a strong supportive diaspora in terms of like financial capability. I often ask this: how many times have you seen Zambian gospel artists do tours in the UK or in the US?
It's very few, but
Nope.
but you've done some
Close
tours
to
in
none.
the US.
Yeah. But even
Those
that,
are just very different.
Those are my personal connections. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are just people I know.
Yeah.
Some of them are not even like church related.
Yeah.
Many, in fact, most of them. The times I did recording in the studio, it was businessmen and women who saw me at a non-Christian event. I remember there was one, it was like a Life and Time, it was like Nigerian. The headliner of that event, where they saw me, was, what's his name? There's this, the guy who did Gorogoto, the one, he was from Nigeria.
Yeah, I remember the song.
Yes.
Who's that?
Flavor.
Flavor.
Was the headline.
Yeah.
It was me, a couple of artists, Flavor was the headline. And I did such a great job, such that some of the people there, the businessmen and women, are like, how can we support you?
Yeah.
How can we put money towards what you're going to do? Okay, cool. Where do you need to record? And that is what I'm talking about. But we are in an industry which if it's going to break out, if it's going to make money, there needs to be investment. There needs to be a channel where artists can make a return, right? Don't demand them to give you when you haven't protected their rights. You haven't protected them from piracy, right? If I'm a farmer and I make maize and every time you're telling me, oh, bring your maize, and halfway through I'm telling you that, guys, on this road, before I even bring my maize to FRA, I've got guys, bandits who are stealing from me. And they're just like, yeah, well, it's okay. I'm like, guys, but my food is not being protected. And then the same bandits are going to bring the same food and they're selling the same thing next to me on the market cheaper. You see what I'm talking about? That's what piracy is like. Right? So that's for me in a nutshell, is that the industry is not what it looks like. It could be better. Yeah. It's improving. Yeah. But when people ask me the future of it, I said, we'll probably only see the value of it when a foreign entity comes and starts buying Zambian artists. Right now, it's getting close. Yeah. You're seeing, I think from what I've heard, some of our artists are already signed to outside thing, right? Because they're like, oh, this one has got numbers. Okay, we're going to take this one to Tanzania. We're going to take this into East Africa. But then the question is, that's a foreign entity. That should be us funding ourselves.
Yeah. Let's speak about your collaborations with the non-Christian artists, so to speak. You've done a collaboration with Chef 187. You've done with Chandana K, big songs. You've done with Your Maps, another big song. How do you hook these up? Do these guys get to you, or does your team reach to them? What's the story?
So, Your Maps called me for Try Again. He told me, and then he told me, like, look, I've got this album. I want you on the title track. Can you come? And so that's how I went to the studio. And, Tishon was the one who recorded us. So that's how we did Try Again. With Chandana K, they approached me. It was actually K. So, big man. I was like doing my K invitation.
That's such a vibe, those two, man.
So go to the collab. So tell him I posted that if on Ephraim. Because like there's this meme of them and Ephraim, and they're doing a song together, and it was a big thing, it was big, it was like it caught heat. But then I said, I said, let me get to know you. So we went to dinner, me and I took Kay and their graphics designer, and so I went to Nando's and we started talking, and I just wanted to know his heart, where he's from, all the things, you know what I'm saying? Because I think that matters a lot when you're doing something together. Right? Even with Maps, it was like, we've had conversations like, okay, man, like, you're telling me, like, okay, where's this, what's your story, bro? Like, where is it coming from? And that for me matters a lot. With Chef, when I did Isenge, I knew I wanted to write a song about fellowship with God and that anyone can have fellowship with God. But at some point I realized, like, if I use Mag 44, it will almost seem obvious, right? Because it's Christians talking about fellowship. Fellowship. But then you're just like, what if, okay, let's make that thing a reality. Right? So I talked to Chef. Chef told me we talked about, what's his view on faith and different things. Told me about how he, he had gotten saved when he was younger, and also does a lot of different things, perspective, seeing things. So I said, okay. And I said, you're best for this song. And that's when we did Isenge, I think that was the best, because it was basically saying, like, it was a person who people don't think should have fellowship with God, saying they want to have fellowship with God. And that's what the gospel is like. Hey, it's an open door for anyone who wants to have fellowship with God. So that's why I think it had more impact. And it was the first time, at the time, there was like free streaming platforms for mostly like Ndimba.com, which only mostly had secular music. It was the first time I got a phone call like, can we have your song?
Oh, really?
Yes, it was the first time. It was the first time, because us we had our, like, people think like Christian music found on Retunes, or you know what I'm saying, the natives, and then the secular artist was Dimba, and that was the first time I got a phone call. I'll tell you, when we did Take All of Me with Chandana K, it was the first, like, I had phone calls from friends who are DJs.
Would you categorize that song as a gospel song?
I think,
because yes. When I think about the lyrics, it's not. It was not performed in the gospel sense that we're used to, right? Yeah. But Can you imagine if that song? I'm just giving an example, right? Can you imagine if you gave that song to Esther Chungu?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And you give it more like a mellow type of feel.
Yes. Yeah.
Then people would look at it and like, okay, but it's a gospel song. But the way she would do it, and the way it was done.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking about, was it a gospel song?
It was because I'll tell you this, of course, until it gets to the end and then the shout outs, and I'm like, guys.
Oh, the shout out.
That's all you guys. But the thing is, so I'll give you my thought pattern.
Yeah.
What I was thinking and what I was feeling. So remember when I talked earlier on about perceiving things like a missionary, right?
Yeah.
So when we recorded it, I went to Chimwemwe. Mm-hmm. So we recorded it in Chimwemwe.
In Kitwe.
Yes, in Kitwe.
Yeah.
In the studio in Chimwemwe.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the environment, you're seeing the people that listen to their music, right? So you realize, okay, then you have to respect their sound because there's a sound, a bounce that those people relate.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you have a message.
Yeah.
And the message is the gospel. How do you put in the gospel? Like, because you're the one who knows the message more than they do. They know God from like, I know, let's say, oh, my palo, but you know from like the God that wants to have fellowship. So that's why that chorus was very important, you know, because I knew that wherever it was going to be played, I, in my heart of hearts, was like, I'm singing the gospel.
Yeah.
And wherever the gospel is preached, it has life and it doesn't return void. So whether someone was in a club, whether somebody was at a bar, wherever they're going to hear it, they were hearing the gospel. And that message was going to resonate with their heart. It softens your heart. It opens. The average person hears the gospel 5 times before they receive Jesus. 5 times. Yeah. Which means their grandmother said it, my pastor watched the preach, you know, count 5, maybe their friend, or maybe they heard it on the radio. But by the time they said the average person heard it 5 times before they received it. It wasn't just like, oh, first time, okay. Though something had to break, you know, that. Yeah. And if my job sometimes is to create softness and to break certain things so that maybe by the time they say, okay, I think I'll go to church on Sunday, by the time the pastor's preaching and finishes his sermon and gives an altar call, that person comes up and receives Jesus, which means maybe because they heard a song. Maybe they were in the club and there's something about Take All of Me resonated, right? Maybe they realize that, oh, wow, there's an actual invitation. You mean I can actually go to church? Maybe I can actually approach God? And that is where we must understand. That's why it's a body. It's not. That's why I say I don't hate on anyone who says no, it shouldn't be done like this. I'm not. It's like you play your part. I said let me do my part.
Abel, I'll tell you the truth. The Zambians loved that song. They still love it.
They do.
The style, you know, the combination of what we know Chandanake singing about, and then we see them in their style.
Yeah.
But you know, they're talking about the word of God in a way. That's beautiful. We'd like to hear that again. Somewhere with another artist or whatever. Because then what you do is that they've got a style and you just take your message there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, people dance to it in the club and they'll sing along and all of that. Very nice. Abel, in 2023, there's a man using your picture that was scamming people. So,
man.
bro,
Oh
even before this interview, the research team sent me the video for me to refresh my memories.
Are you serious?
So I was like,
that made me
and I think my response was that, wait, is this Abel?
Yeah. Huh? Apparently,
I don't know you to be a scammer.
Imagine. This guy made a whole passport using one of my pictures. And I was just like, I had to go looking. And I found the picture. I'm like, that's my picture. Yeah. This guy got my picture off, I think, Instagram or Facebook and made a whole fake passport. Yeah. Then went to do a scam in Australia in a like, I think it was a bureau or something like that. Yeah, that's how and went with fake dollar. Now, the news article is like, this man over here, and here's it. But he got a scan of his ID. And then I'm looking at him like, that's not him. That's me. I was like, yeah, that actually happened. And I had to write to the news station. I'm like, hey, don't start putting out a thing. Because I think I was even going to visit Australia. And I was like, hey, guys, don't put this out. Like,
what do you mean?
Yeah, I had a booking to Australia coming up.
before that video came up. So I was even nervous. I'm like, guys, if my face is on some identity thing, like, look out for this guy.
I'm going to pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Abel, I know you do a lot of things. Like you say, you don't restrict yourself to music and all of that. And I think sometimes, anybody who's different, there are people who misunderstand and all of that. But I know you do comedy and all of that. You did that big wedding, brother. Well done. That was huge.
Thank you.
We had Diamond, we had Yom Ups, and then, it was like a wedding of a century.
Yeah.
Are you connected to those guys? How did this gig come up?
Oh, so it was it's quite interesting. So I had done the groom's brother's wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd done the groom's brother as a singer.
Okay.
So I sang. But then I don't even know if I should say this. Okay, I'm just gonna say. So when the groom said he had seen me MC, I was like, I didn't MC his brother's wedding. Then I remembered.
Okay.
What happened was the person who was MCing that wedding was late.
Okay.
So I ended up MCing until they got there.
All right.
Yes. And so the groom was like, oh, man, I actually loved the way you MC. Because within that short space of time.
Yeah.
And I've got so many different people coming from international, different people. Like, I think you can hold it down. And that's how basically, and I've been doing MCing. I think I've maintained a good name for myself in terms of MCing, in terms of timekeeping, in terms of managing the event very well. I think I try to target the most important things that people want to do at the wedding and get those things. I don't put the focus on me. I'm not coming with 10,000 jokes. I get there's people who have that, and people have a preference in terms of style. But I think for me, I try to keep things very organized, light, funny. I make my jokes at the event. So that's also what keeps things fresh, because it was something we've all seen, and then I'll be like, yo, did you guys know that? And then people will laugh though. So they find that very entertaining. So the jokes feel fresh. There's always something new. So yeah, but there's a lot of people who I think have had a great emceeing experience.
Well, get me Pats on Daka, man.
Pats on Daka. You want Pats on Daka?
I'm told you at his wedding. And
yeah.
Are you very good friends?
We're close enough. We get to talk.
Yeah.
We were supposed to hang out about 3 weeks ago.
Is he around?
No, he had to go back.
Okay.
So we were supposed to hang out. So I've known Patson since he was in the under 20. So my cousin Upalo, Super's young brother, is the one who introduced me to Patson. So I've known Patson from that time, then Salzburg, then so kind of that. So even the whole thing when we did his wedding, it was basically like based on a friendship that had been building up. But he's a very nice guy. He's a very cool guy. Yeah. Also one guy, Enoch, a few of the guys. I've met a few guys as well who are pretty good.
Let's speak about your accolades, Abel. I know you've bagged quite a few. Are you able to speak about a few?
Yeah.
This show is mainly about inspiration, and when we talk about it, we're not showing off, but we're hoping to just inspire somebody.
I've won Best Gospel Album a few times. I've won, I just won an award last year in the States. Yeah. The African what? I'm so sorry. African Achievement Awards.
Okay.
I won an African Achievement Award. I think one of the best awards that I liked a lot was when you did the Kwacha, but it was the first time I won an R&B award, right?
R&B award.
Yes.
Okay.
The best R&B album. And for Love Unleashed.
Okay.
And of course, at that time, I think I was up against very good, strong guys like Roberto, other people.
Yeah.
And why that meant a lot, because it was the first time I felt like, okay, we just competed mainstream, right? Because sometimes with gospel, it's like, gospel category. Right? It's like, sometimes they treat it like a by the way. Right?
Yeah.
And then let's get to the real.
To the real, yeah.
But then when you're like in that category,
Yeah.
where it's like, hey man, as far as R&B albums go, like this album was solid, right? Or this song was solid. Winning with Extra Time. Best R&B song with Extra Time. That means something. And then the ones I covet the most, even though it's a bad thing, but I think the humanitarian awards. I think they mean a lot. I think that's one legacy I'd like to have. And I've been nominated for another one. I think I've been nominated for like 4 now, but I've won one before, and I've been nominated again. And I think it's always that thing that tries to keep me grounded over the fact that, you know, over all this fame, remember that there's people going through troubles, people are suffering. You must show them, you know, love. So, yeah.
Actually, on the part of people going through a lot, men, we go through a lot, man.
Yeah.
And this is taking me to one of my personal favorite songs by
Yeah.
Abel Chungu.
Yeah.
Huh? Mamuna Samalila.
Yes.
I was hoping to hear it, but I wanted to say, Abel, can you sing that song? But then, you know, you did even a song I've never heard before, which was really nice. But what was the inspiration behind this song?
That one.
Is it a personal experience?
Yeah. Yeah. That one, that was painful. It was very painful. So, so much like Father's Child came from the passing of my father.
Yeah.
So Mamuna Samalida, I had this really good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, Luasi. And unfortunately, years ago, he ended his life.
Oh, no.
And I remember the day I found out, it was actually Cactus Agony who told me. So Cactus had gone with his elder brother to go and with my friend, he was one of my best friends, to go and identify the body. Of course, there's a series of unfortunate events that led to it, but he did it at a police station when he went to collect some of his guns that were there confiscated. So it was just, so for years, you know, I even had to speak at his funeral, and I felt bad to speak at his funeral because I generally felt like if he took his life, I hadn't been there for him. Like I should have. I should have been that friend that was there for him the way, you know, and I felt like, what am I doing here? I cried. That broke me because I think it also happened during the time when my album was, because I had, my second album was #1 for 9 months on the sounds charts. That's in terms of sales.
Yeah.
So you're going to events where everyone is shouting and you're getting home and you're alone, or you get off stage and you feel depressed. And that's why I tell people, like, my depression for me started at the peak when I should feel like, oh, I'm at the peak of my career. So it started, you know, eventually I think it also made me make a lot of bad decisions as well. Because a lot of depression, what it does, it steals your confidence. And if you don't have the right, you know, the right words, life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Did it get you maybe to doing things like, you know, drinking?
No,
I've
never drank. But I think, you know, I've been very open. I've said it before. I've battled with, you know, pornography. You know, it makes you more. You start allowing yourself to not confident, lust, different things like that begin to take over.
Yeah.
And you allow yourself to spiral down. And because you're this figure, right? Like, oh no, but you're this figure. You know, you kind of, it's not like you're a topic of discussion. And I'm not taking away the fact that there weren't people who tried coming in to help. But I think maybe the perspective of helping was because you're able.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, fix this because you know, your fans are different people like that. And I understood what depression can do. I understood it took me a while before it was actually my sister, you know, who identified it. And she was my manager.
Because sometimes you don't know.
Yeah. And she said, you know, you've been depressed for like a very long time. And I said, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, because there's so many times when you've got things to do, but you just stay in bed the whole day. Like you just fail to get up. I just feel like, you know, if you've got a job, I can't even imagine how people work, like a 9 to 5, right? And I saw how people cope. I'm just glad that I never started alcohol, because I think I would have, by now, I would have been in a ditch or dead, right? Because I do a lot of road trips, different things.
Yeah.
But it's also like you become a bit numb, right? And this has nothing to do with, I think there's a lot of people like, oh, no, because different things. But these are things that you find are common amongst also Christians. So the time that I felt there was a bit of closure, I was sitting down, and his brother and I, remember his older brother and I, shout out to him, Lundu, such an amazing guy. And we're sitting down, and we went to this Mateveto place, Pamzos, and that was the first time we said, okay. I mean, we talked about it, but then it's like we just started talking about the death. We started talking about that, and we sat there for 4 hours, man. Just 4 hours, just talking, man. And it was, yeah. And it was very, very, very needed at the time, you know. And that was a day, like the melody, Wamuna Samalida, started coming.
Yeah.
That was the first time I heard the melody. And I reached out to KB and I said, man, there's a song that's come to my heart. And
how did you pick on KB?
Yeah, so I picked on KB because I felt he had a sound that would touch Zambian people. So with extra time, we had hit for the first time. I felt like, oh, there's a sound that Zambians resonate with.
You know why I'm asking this question?
Yeah.
I'm one of the people that completely relate to KB's sound. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah,
I do.
Yes. So with what so I'll tell you, a lot of times the music that I do or I like, people do relate it to Western attachment, right?
Yeah.
They love it, but then they also feel like it has a Western attachment. So with extra time was the first time I realized that my voice on a sound like a Dunka, I feel like resonated a lot with Zambians. It was the first time I'd really tried to do something. So I knew that I want a song that is speaking to Zambian men. So I went to a producer who I know has a sound that speaks to Zambians. So, and when I wrote the song, I had wanted to tell the story from the time a man is young. Because I could have started from anywhere, but I'm like, no, let's start from when they're young. I want a man to envision the journey from the time he's young, the time he falls on the ground and say, hey, you know, and then I take them through school. I went through school. I remember the time I'd get bullied, and then you just have to like toughen it up. I remember the times I'm like, I'm not going to school tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Because like that was bad.
Yeah.
But then you're just like, okay, I'll show up. And that is where I'm like, that being a man, and then, remember we used to hear Scrubs, Nisha in high school, but girls are telling you passing the passenger side of your best friend. I'm like, wait, I don't even have a car. So the ability to, if you wanted to be respected, then provide, right? So that's why I put in the aspect of the family, But then when I go into the second verse, I also remembered like when my dad died, or many of my friends, when they lost their fathers, you show up at the funeral house and you find, where's the guy? No, he's going with his uncle to buy this. Going with what? His mom and sisters are in the house crying. But him is like, every uncle that shows up, hey, you're a man now, eh? You're bistro. No one is like, okay, give him time, let him mourn. That doesn't happen. It's almost like,
give him a hug and tell him it's going to be okay.
But what's next? You have to start making decisions right now. And that's a tough thing, right? So with Mamuna Samalid, I think we did an amazing job telling a story. It helped to start the first men's mental health conference. I did this conference with the help of Repsi and Mind Care, and we started this thing called Free Man's Mental Health Conference. And so ever since then, man, it's I've found myself in this space where people are inviting me to speak at conference, and I was even Dr. Njajati has invited me on his show, and people's like, you have all this. I'm like, because of conversations. I love having conversations, real conversations with people. And men will open up, and the problem is they just don't feel like there's people they can trust to open up to. So I'm glad that song touched hearts. Yeah.
Abel, you were nominated for the Ngoma Awards. I'm not sure which year this was. As a comedian.
2019. And
you won.
Yeah.
Social media went crazy.
The first ever.
Were you expecting it?
Nah, I wasn't. Actually, I was nominated with Emano, and not Ndine Emano,
different Emano,
and Mwana Jingwara. I thought one of them was going to win. I was convinced. I was more convinced Mwana Jingwara was going to win because he had this thing on Facebook. So let's see, what. And for me, I'd taken a step away from doing comedy because I actually wanted a special. I told guys, like, I've been doing comedy for such a long time. I just want to be one night where I can put all my jokes together. And that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Little did I know my guys had taken my videos and submitted them to Ngoma Awards without telling me. So when I was nominated, I was like, wait, what? Then I was like, oh, okay, anyway, I'm nominated, but it's not like I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Then I won.
Wow.
And then
social media.
Then social media erupted, man. It was crazy. It was just like, yeah, what? And I remember it was so funny. Because, I'm a big Real Madrid fan. I'm a big Messi hater.
Yeah.
I love Ronaldo, CR7. Shout out to the GOAT. But I think it was after Messi's Ballon d'Or. So now all this controversy, like, Abel Chungu, how could you win? Chan? Maybe it was a glitch. People thought, like, remember when St. Michael won Best Female Artist at Cora West?
I remember.
Everybody was like, when it was announced as. But people thought, maybe it was a glitch. Maybe it was corruption. Ngoma Awards, how? So, and I'm like, and I didn't say anything. So now I'm like, what do I say? So I just then my first post after that was like, I'll give it back when Messi gives back the Ballon d'Or. Oh, now people are like, he's arrogant. But then the best thing happened out of it. Like I said, all things work together for good, man. My friend HK. Now we're telling people the background secrets. So HK, shout out Nkisu, calls me and he says, Chung.
That's another crazy one.
I know, right?
From a comedy standpoint.
I know. So HK calls me and says, boy, I've got this brilliant idea. I'm like, what? He's like, you know what we're going to do? Well, let's build a special. Like, let's finally do that special you've been wanting. Let's do it. But we're going to do it like this. Yeah. I'm going to write a post. So Nkisu was the one who wrote the post. Made this anonymous post that, Abel Chungu, we as the Zambian people are challenging you to make us laugh.
Yeah.
We're not convinced that we're challenging you to make us laugh. So then he sent a photographer to my house. This guy was okay, but HK was crazy, man. Sent a photographer to my house. Bro, this dude literally, I just had to sit by a wall on a stool and then took the picture. Man, the poster was ready by the late afternoon. And he said, what do you want to call it? So I kept quiet. I'm like, over my life, all the years of my life, all I've heard is, Abel, we heard this, Abel heard this. So I said, okay, I'm going to call it Rumor Has It. And the first thing I put the post up and I wrote, challenge accepted. And people, like, I can tell you, I was not even involved. The way these guys pulled it off, the cars that took us, everything. I shout out to the guys. Mulungushi, Bob Mkosha, one of the adjudicators, said, guys, this guy is funny. I can back it up. I'll even open for him. Yeah. Can you imagine the pressure? Yeah. Bob Vix was like,
Bob is legendary, man.
The two guys I was competing against in the category, Mwaraji Ngwana and Eman, like, we'll open for him. So now imagine, people sit and they watch Bob, they watch Mwaraji Ngwana, then they watch Emma, and then now they're waiting for you. The one everyone's like, no, this guy is actually funny. Man, the pressure.
Yeah.
But I have never been more calm in my life than I was that day backstage.
Yeah.
I knew that something like this was God. And when I got on that stage that night, from the first joke to the last joke, oh man, it was just, people were just cracking up. Until my last joke, the Wakanda, which is actually the whole Wakanda elections joke. And I even shout out to the comedians because prior to that, I ran through my set with them. We even made it to a few changes. No, like this. So it was like fun. It was
teamwork.
A great experience, man. Then we had plans. We had people who were ready to book us in Dubai for comedy session, to whatnot. And then guess what happened the following year? COVID.
Everything came to a standstill.
Oh man, COVID messed us up. But it was I'll never forget that experience.
Abel, what's your take on music and AI?
Oh boy. How much time you got?
And I'm giving you 30 seconds. I'm giving you 30 seconds. I'll punch in my final question and we'll wrap it up.
Okay. I am fully support. I think AI is the future. I think it's great in the sense that people can be able to create music they're thinking about.
Yeah.
And if I had that tool, if I was younger, like I would have been creating. I would have been using AI. The only thing that I think is there has to be honesty.
Yeah.
right? There has to be honesty. Even now, Spotify took down over 700 million AI songs.
Wow.
Why? Because why are we paying you for something that's not your gift? So if you want to do it for fun, good. But don't come and take...
Or maybe if you want to use AI, can we pay AI instead?
Exactly, yes. You know what I'm saying? Why? So that's fraudulent. It's like using bots, right? Saying, oh, I've got 10,000 followers and 8,000 of them are fake, are bots, right? It's the same thing. I feel like, look, I give credit to people who want to use AI to create music and just put it up there and say, hey guys, I made this great song. I think the words, I had this idea. And I generally feel people who make AI should, there's a guy I actually saw on TikTok who is like, I've been doing AI. This is the program I've been using. I'm like, cool. Even to producers, you do beat tutorials, right? How I made the song, what we did, then we added this, what they do that. I just feel like there are people who want to take credit and not acknowledge that this is AI, not acknowledge that this is AI incorporated, right? And I respect. I'm not going to say any names because I respect the offices people hold in different. People say, you'll see in the comments, no, it was this. But I generally feel like AI is the future. It is the future, whether we like it or not. And artificial intelligence fused with someone who already has knowledge of something is even more insane, right? You, with your knowledge of radio, another thing, if you can infuse AI in your work, you'll be even more, right? Amazing, accomplished. But again, we cannot take away the fact that we are a, what can I say, a manual country, right? We're doing a quick switch to automatic, but then let's not forget, we're not all there. Not all our villages have computers. Not all our schools have shani. We're so behind in so many things. And then I think there's people in this bubble who are like, no, it's progressive. No, I'm like, guys, that's why there's regulation, because regulation helps like, hey, you guys, you're rushing, but there's others.
Yeah.
Let's be responsible for those who are leaving behind, right? So you run this shop and you're like, oh, if I can use computers, it can cut down. But then those jobs you're getting rid of. Sometimes that's all those people know. So that's why there's unions that protect certain jobs, because they're like, if everyone just had the chance to be innovative and think, there'll be no jobs. The employment lines will be so much longer. And that's why I feel like, look, it's a very slippery slope. But when it comes to making income and different things, I said, let's just acknowledge where it was used, how it was used. I mean, I've told people I might use AI to digitally remaster my old music, right? Still has my voice.
Yeah.
I just feel like we didn't have the mixing capabilities back then. But now AI...
I've got the tools, man.
Yeah, now they've got the tools where you can click a button and you think it's properly mixed and mastered. That I'll probably do. But I'm never feeling like I'm going to take an AI song and with that doesn't even sound like my voice. That doesn't even sound... You know what I'm saying? And then I take credit and saying, I'm making music. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm becoming old. Maybe I'll be. My thought patterns will be considered old school in a few years. So, yeah. But I still say it's the future.
Abel, when we're scanning through your social media and your posts and all of that, we noticed that you don't usually post your family.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you know, people know they're there, but it's a bit of a like a they're a mystery.
Yeah.
What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, I have this thing. You know, there was a time that I would post, you know what I'm saying? And social media is a very ugly environment. It's a very ugly environment. And I think for us who are, I can say I'm a public figure, you have tougher skin for it, right? Where just like, at time, you know, the first time someone writes a bad article about you, it's like, who's this person? Second time, third time, it's like, have you seen what's trending? Yeah, anyway, what are we eating? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It gets to that level. It's like, guys, it develops. And I always feel like if you're a public figure, you can handle it. But your family is not. Even though you want, like, people are now going to the extent, people are insulting people's kids. People are saying, no, why does your Shani find people's wives? People, you see people post the wedding picture, you're talking about the thingy. Hey, look at what the mother is wearing. Like, it's such a very infuriating environment. So I've just personally felt that if I am a public figure, I am the public figure. Not my family members. No. If I post, maybe I might post my mom here and there, but she's not on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, it's once in a while maybe I'll post, but on my story. But I just feel like nobody in my family should have the title of I'm Abel's this as the thing that people should recognize. I'm Abel's that. Because again, also remember, when Abel gets attacked, you know what I'm saying? That person will be like, aren't you Abel's the... You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'd rather keep people safe, my family safe, so that I'm just like, look, anything that people have negative to say about me, anything that people have positive, yeah, it's still on me. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't be something that they have to endure. When my sons are of age, they will make their names in whatever God has called them for, and then people will say, "Oh, wow, you're this guy. You're you're a thing. Oh, you're actually Abel's son." You know what I'm saying? I want my sons to have their names. I want them to make a name for themselves, because I believe there's going to be greatness from them. Yeah.
Abel, usually what we do on our podcast is that each guest leaves a question for the next guest. So our previous guest is Kazadi, David.
Okay.
Right? You were supposed to start a podcast with him at some point.
Yeah.
What happened?
You see, David called me. I think we, they say there's a lot of heat. Heat catches on.
Yeah.
And we even had a conversation backstage where we said, hey, man, when you're ready, let's have that conversation. Right? It's never been on me. I didn't like, oh no, let me run. No, hey, it's too much. No, I've never been that kind of person. But I feel, with recent situations that happen, I would have loved to have that conversation with him. Like, what happened? How are you doing? How's everything? How's it? How did your mom take it? How did they? You know what I'm saying? So, but I feel the time will come for that. Whether it'll be that this podcast would take off or not, but at the end of the day, I've always enjoyed real conversations, and I feel like with David, he puts his heart on his sleeve, and he's still, I won't lie, despite everything and what happened, he's still one of the most brilliant young people that I've ever encountered. Right, in terms, he's very smart, he's very driven. A lot of people thought this would break him, but if you know him personally, it's just like, he's gonna find a way, one way or another.
Well, I had him on the show. He's good. I mean, he acknowledges mistakes, and obviously charts the way forward.
Yeah.
And David, thanks a lot for trusting us with your story. We had a very candid conversation with him. I personally enjoyed the interview with him. He's a great guy, very smart.
He is. Everyone, not everyone is perfect. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone is flawed. I always tell people, whatever you hear about me, believe it. Believe it. But when you meet me, you can determine whether I'm that person. Because at the end of the day, there are people like, hey, do you know, and then you meet the person, like, no, this guy is a vibe.
It's different from what I hear.
This guy. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing.
I've got that question for you from David. It says, what's the worst love advice you've ever heard or received in your life?
Oh my goodness. You see, the thing is, I'm afraid to give this answer.
Stay in the safe, man. Stay in the safe zone.
I gotta stay in the safe. You gotta say. But then again, the thing is, I'm battling two things. I'm like, do I give this answer for my, but then I'm like, but then there's like the greater good. You know what I'm saying?
So let's go for it, man.
I think it's an advice that everybody gets, and especially as men.
Yeah.
Oh, dang! This is gonna be bad. But no, I'm not saying it in a bad sense.
Yeah.
I think it's and this works for relationships as well. You see how I'm like, just give me an answer.
Scared to hear this answer.
I think from my work with a lot of different men, mental health, it's happy wife, happy life. And I'm gonna,
Was that the worst
I think it's the worst advice that a lot of men get. And I'll say this why? Because I've dealt with way too many men who are doing everything to make either their wife or their girlfriend or the people around them happy, and this man is dying inside. Literally dead.
Yeah.
You have a society that's just like, okay, bills. Hey, Shan. Oh, this. So when you get caught up in provide, and I posted something on my Facebook recently where I was talking about, I said the ideal world for a man is if it's a world where money is not the problem, not a need. And I'm not saying like but it's not like priority. Then is he then seen? Are you really as funny as the women in your life tell you are? You know what I'm saying? Are you really as handsome?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If money is stripped away, no one knows that you have money. What? Or maybe that's not a priority, or everything is settled. Are they willing to listen? Is there a conversation?
I've also heard of a saying that goes, every man is handsome when he's standing on his wallet.
Exactly. So I think it's you hear this thing a lot, and I don't think it's healthy, and as much as, because especially if you're the head and it's depressing and it's draining, and it's not. And I think a lot of people, even in the teachings that are there, it's not in line. There's a lot of things that I think we even teach today about marriage and that are not biblical, but they've become kind of cultural, and we just say, oh, we do this or we do that. Of course, look, appreciating your spouse is a great thing. Appreciating your wife is an amazing thing, right? But I always say this, look, also men love to be appreciated. Men love affirmation. It's even biblical. You know, if you look in the book of Esther, how Esther won the king, the eunuch was like, hey, you need to take a gift. You're gonna win him over. She dressed it when she needed him the most to make a decision to save her people. What did she do? She positioned herself looking gorgeous. Like she knew his likes and things. What removed the wife Vashti from her position as head queen? Because she dishonored him in front of other people. And nowadays, when you find men who are in relationships where they're dishonored or insulted, people are like, no, she just said, keep going. And those things are not dealt with, right? When I talk with men and they're broken, it's usually the things that a woman who they love said to them. It's never really like, usually times by the time a man even finds that a woman is cheating, it's late. But usually the things that are said, loyalty for a man is
like, after all, there's nothing you do in this house.
After all, you are just like, you remember how your boss was on your neck about that deadline, how shiny, how what, and then finally, that 2 pin, even if you sent that 2 pin from someone who's unemployed, the way you hustled for that 2 pin, and then someone comes and degrades you, you're just like, wow. These are the stories that I say, look, happiness is something that people should both pursue. A wife should be like, how do I make this man happy? What makes him happy? How do I make this happen? But this concept of it's a one-sided happy life, happy wife thing, I feel like is the worst advice people can. And you also have to be open for disappointments. You have to be open for disappointment. You have to be like, you know what? At any point, this is a human being with human emotions. And sometimes we pick up the flags, but I think, love is like a concept, sometimes that we make. We make decisions like, you create an imagination about what you think this person is like. Even when you're not there, just like, I'm sure she's just there. She's probably doing her dishes, or just like, she's probably just like, watching her TikToks. Like, you create this imagination. It really does. And it's psychologically proven. But at the end of the day, you have to be ready that this person, because they're human, because they're flawed, God saw it. God said, you guys are all flawed, so I'm going to die for you. Yeah. But if we as human beings don't realize that this person has the capability of being flawed and messed up, and I have to understand whether this is something I'm ready to endure, then yeah. Because I think a lot of guys make the decision of, as long as I can look after her, I can, valalila, akomanda, kulira so. Did what. Kulila so. After everything I've done for you. No, sorry, you thought you could just buy me with that. This guy was like, but those are the things you wanted. Those are things you said the brand new phone will make you happy. You made it I'm telling you. You think me, but at the end of the day, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is, for me, is probably the worst advice. Yeah.
Great. Abel, we've got 3 questions here. We've got question 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. Which number are you picking? This is for the next guest.
I will go with 3.
3, okay.
Yeah.
So question 3 reads, what's
will you tell me what the other ones were before?
Sorry?
Will you tell me what the other ones were, or afterward?
Come again?
Will I know what the other questions were going to be?
No.
No, okay.
You're not supposed to know. So your question reads, what's a moment in your life that's completely changed how you see the world? So this is the question for our next guest from you.
Okay.
Abel, thanks a lot for this beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Made it very easy for me.
Really?
I didn't have to scratch my head. What am I going to ask him? You told the story very, very well, and thank you for trusting us with your story.
I appreciate you having me on this, man. Yeah.
Great.
I won't lie. I was watching the other episodes. I was jealous. I was like, Kenny, really? Kenny, you forgot me, bro? But it's okay.
And here we are. And you and me are going for lunch after this.
Yes.
All right, this has been the Kenny T 101 podcast. We'd like to thank my guest, Abel Chungu. It was a very, very good conversation. We'd like to thank our sponsors as well, Yatu Tea, Abaleya Carpooling, and MTN everywhere you go. We are back again next week, same place, same space. But remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Kenny T 101 podcast. You said you had something fun for us.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I had this thing where my brother and I would make songs on the spot.
Okay.
So instead of just me just singing a last song, what I'm going to ask you, I need you to help me write a song.
Okay. All right.
So all I'm going to ask you to do is give me 4 words, what you think the song should be about.
Okay.
And then I'm going to make a song right here. And we're going to sing it live.
Okay, great.
So this is a song. For those who are watching, this is a song he doesn't know.
Yeah, because now I'm thinking of words now.
Yeah.
And then will you transition into Mwamuna Samalila? I would like to listen to
you
that.
You want me to transition?
Just for me.
Okay,
please.
Cool. So I have to find a way to transition into Mwamuna Samalila.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so let me think.
All right, let's do it.
I want you to sing about love, relationships, friendship, and trust.
Okay.
So this is all around, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
From the moment I met you, you were all that I wanted. I found the truth in you, you were all that I needed. Life could not get any better than the day that I found you. I think this is the relationship that I've always needed. So when I'm broken, you are all that I can turn to. When I'm hurting, you are the woman I cry to. So I sing, Mwamuna Samalila, Mwamuna Samalila, Mwamuna Samalila, Mwamuna Samalila. Oh, Mwamuna Samalila, Mwamuna Samalila, Mwamuna Samalila. When I'm with you, baby. Wanatia misa kutala, beti kale chabevana. Ukangawaze chita bakulu bakuza, kuti Mwamuna Samalila, kulimbila kuni kuskulu. Pressure singa kale excuse, ukafeluka nechimutu anane libenzelu. Mwamuna Samalila, pezako chitopanga nyumba. Fakamo madampanga panja, palipose ni ma pressure, don't ever be a letdown. Mwamuna Samalila, kuma mutima ulia chivava. Visaka sila liti, chifuko kose kwenda end, wakungo kuniuza, kuti Mwamuna Samalila. samalila koma mutima ulia chivava lisakasila liti chifuko kose kwa naenda wakungo kuniuza kuti mwamuna samalila oh mwamuna samalila mwamuna samalila mwamuna samalila mwamuna samalila Mamona samalila, mamona samalila, mamona samalila, mamona samalila.
Thanks.